morning. Once again, happy Tuesday, everybody. Some of you we're seeing for the second time today. Looks like things are working okay on TikTok now. Hopefully everybody can hear me. If you can't hear me, get fucked, you know? Once again, want to remind everybody, it's Damien's birthday today. It's Barack Obama's birthday today. And it's the wonderful and talented Jennifer's birthday today. Happy birthday to Jennifer. Make sure you guys are telling her and reminding each other in the chat as people roll in. Remind them that it's Jennifer's birthday and to consistently bring up that it's her birthday. She loves that. Asta Sophia sent a super chat earlier. It looks like maybe ice cream cones for everybody. And Thomas Hamilton, thank you very much. Also sent a super chat for $20. There was no message there, Thomas, but thank you for your support. To everybody else, welcome to another Tuesday here in Mesa, Arizona. A little overcast, kind of nice. Go ahead, Jennifer.
So Trudy sent a $100 Venmo saying happy birthday, Jen.
Thank you, Trudy. Happy birthday awesome. Indeed.
Yep. And then let's see what there are other ones. Jennifer sent 15 saying happy birthday also. So thanks Trudy. Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, at some point today, there is a chance I will get a phone call. That phone call will not cause me to miss the rest of the show, but it might cause me to take like a 5-minute break. Jen and I have already discussed this. If this happens, I will find a longer video and I will play the video while I am muted in front of this microphone. You can watch me but not hear me take a phone call, and that way we don't get taken down by TikTok, but it may happen at some point, and I apologize. You can make Jen split birthday gifts? Hell no. Hell no. Hell no, I wouldn't do that. Sorry, my glasses are all foggy. What do you stay out of our business, Nick? Just kidding, buddy. What else? Did I miss it? What else? Do we have any other tomorrow?
TikTok didn't get to hear about how you got yelled at by Spawn, so we could maybe talk about that because that's fun.
Why are you bringing that up? That's old news. All right. Well, yeah. when I first talked to Jen this morning, well, second time I talked to Jen, but first time on the computer, I talked to Jen. I found out it was her birthday. I told her I asked her and Spawn what they were doing for her 60th birthday, and Spawn said I was rude. I thought she would think that was funny, and she didn't think that was funny at all. She just said I was rude. So I got lectured by a preteen, right? Preteen, right? Yeah. Still preteen?
Yeah.
Attitude like a full teen, though. That much.
Yeah. It's all there, but yeah, no, it's funny. It's one of those things. You've got like 1,000 siblings who were raised Mormon, so it's like one of the things
I have what?
You can make. I said you've got like 1,000 siblings since you were raised Mormon.
No, I only have 2.
Only 2? Really?
Well, I was raised. So yeah, my mom couldn't have children, so I have a brother that's 5 years older than me, and I have a sister that is 6 months older than me. That's it.
I thought like 4 was like almost the bare minimum.
Well, we're store-bought, right? So it's about finances. You gotta be able to afford some more kids when they're store-bought. But then my biological mom has a bunch of kids. She had 1, 2. I was first, then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6. Yeah.
Yeah. No, my point was with family, you can talk shit to your siblings, but. For your family, but no one else is allowed to do anything. So that's how she operates.
The family I grew up with, they are not okay with talking shit. I can't talk shit. I can talk shit to my biological family. That's how everybody shows love. We're all entirely broken, so we just show love by being mean to each other. I'll have to show you a text message that my brother sent me the other day. I can't share it on here. It's fucking unbelievable. It was so hurtful and so funny at the same time. It was weird. It was like laugh cry. It was incredible stuff.
Yeah, those can be fun.
Lindsay says happy birthday.
Thank you. And Axe says happy on YouTube. Happy birthday, Jen. You're hot AF for 60.
It's true.
So there's that.
60 and thriving.
Right, exactly.
All right.
Okay. So there's that. So we can get going with the show since we've exhausted in me being old jokes. So
thanks Joseph. Yeah, Trump's authoritarian because he's authoritarian. It's not hysterical. It's using words accurately. Stick around. You'll see about it. You know he's authoritarian. You all know that. I don't know why anybody even argues that anymore. What happens to a member of the Republican Party when they disagree with Trump? What happens to him? Yeah, you all know what happens. Well, that's not authoritarian. It's just the right thing to do. And do your thing.
Yeah. In fairness, Duke made an older joke to me too about me being older. So.
Wait, is Duke older than you?
He's 39. He'll be 39. He's also a Leo like me, so there's that.
I regularly make jokes about my significant other being older than me. She also doesn't think they're funny.
Yeah, it's whatever. But I do the whole I act like I'm mad and like just rude kind of a thing. But he also thinks I'm nice, which is odd. So.
That's all right, Duke. If you're listening, you'll figure it out. But stick around. It's worth it. But she's not nice.
Oh. I did forget to say he has mentioned like he might get like he goes back and listens to the show.
Uh-huh.
And so he listened to the show the other day and he's like, sounds like I might have to get Discord for the
for members
only questions.
Yeah, Duke. Now listen, you can't just piggyback off Jen all the time. Memberships start at $2.99 on YouTube. You can also get a paid membership through YouTube, Twitch, or TikTok, and that gets you special access to our members-only channel in the Discord, where you can join us and all the other members for members-only events. And it's a great way, Duke, to show your support for both Jen and I to help keep the lights on here. Greg says certified pre-owned RTP. That's pretty good. Thanks, Greg. Love you, buddy. All right, Jen, do your thing, then we'll get started.
Yeah, let's get going. All right, so welcome, everybody. So we've covered what today is. So all the awesome birthdays are today. So glad you're all here. We've got the gift goal that I think is pretty solid dent that's been made into it already. But we need to hit that each day, Monday through Friday, 9:30 to. We do the show each day, Monday through Friday, from 9:30 to 1. So we need to hit the gift goal so we can keep the lights on to keep doing this and coming on each day. So Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, Super Chats all go towards knocking out that gift goal. We prefer the pay links but Super Chat takes a little bit more than the Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal. But anything is accepted, always appreciated. So like Jay mentioned, if you want to join us for members-only events, if you're a paid member or subscriber wherever you're watching, you can join us for those. We have another one coming up tomorrow. So if you want to join us have you decided what you want to do for that? If you want to do that?
Yeah, I think we'll do the CNN documentary, and then we'll finish Life, Larry, and the Pursuit of Unhappiness later.
So yeah. So if you want to join, if you sign up and get in the Discord,
the Supreme Court
tomorrow. If you guys disagree with our TP and like to come up and have a conversation, you can do that by sending me a message on Discord. And that means you, Joseph, because you have a lot to say.
It does.
In the comments, if you'd like to actually come up and have a conversation, you can send me a message on Discord and I can bring you up to have that conversation. So my Discord username is the same as the Venmo. So Jen with 2 N's, Deb with 2 B's, the number 1. And you can have that conversation. You don't have to cry in the comments. Check out the link in the bio. We're on most social media platforms. So we've got merch. Jay's on Cameo. We upload these episodes to Spotify when Spotify decides they want to let it be uploaded. So there's all that. What happens when a strawberry gets run over crossing the street?
What happens?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Traffic jam.
Stupid. I thought it was jam. I thought jam. Some people knew. Jammed. Yeah, you guys are there. All right. Well, good to have you guys all here. Joseph, good to have you here. You're definitely not having a meltdown. You're totally reacting rationally to the title of today's stream without watching anything that we're going to present. You're doing great. Everybody's doing great today. Let's get started. This is a little personal for me, so I wanted to show this. I mentioned this court ruling yesterday, but for context, this is why I hate religion. And this is why I hate that we protect religious liberties in the way that we do. When I say religious liberties, I use that in the context of how it has been co-opted by religions to allow them to do things that otherwise would be completely illegal in the name of a sky daddy that they cannot prove is true. This is another example of that. The Mormon Church having an abuse case tossed in Cochise County here in Arizona, and the Supreme Court upholding that ruling.
The Supreme Court has affirmed.
Sorry, Robert said no Niner hate today, but you know.
A lower court's ruling dismissing a child sex abuse lawsuit against Mormon church officials in Cochise County. The lawsuit was filed by children of church member Paul Adams, who confessed to abusing a child to clergy. Years later, he was indicted before taking his own life. News 4 Tucson's Jacob Owen spoke to the Tucson attorney who represents some of his children. Jacob, what do they have to say?
Sean, Lynn Cadigan tells me she's been in this legal fight for the past 7 years, and she's heartbroken by the Arizona Supreme Court's decision today. She says that across Arizona, children are now in danger because of this ruling.
What this court did is tell this church it's up to you if you report it or not.
The case centered on whether church leaders had a legal duty to report Adams's confession. Arizona law requires suspected child abuse to be reported, but provides an exception for clergy when the information is shared through a confidential religious confession.
Why? Why the fuck does that exist? Why is there an exception to mandatory reporting for a church? Why? We got any religious folks here? Can you, how in the world? The real answer is they don't want to be sued. That's the real answer. They don't want to be sued or involved in any of these legal cases. So instead, they just cover up abuse. I want to ask my Mormon dad how he feels about this so bad, but I also know I'd be so disappointed. Yeah, it sucks. I recently talked to a family member about the amount of abuse that the Mormon Church has covered up, and then the response. And who was it that said that? That one girl on Twitch. You know what the answer is. The answer that you're going to get that is disappointing is it's a perfect church run by imperfect people. That's what it's going to be. It'll be just dismissed. And that's again why we call Trump authoritarian and why I call this entire MAGA thing a cult, because it's the same thing. We're going to get to more abuse by Republicans and Trump dismissing it. It's fucking incredible to watch the people who wake up every day and talk about protecting women by just doing everything they can to make trans women's lives hell. And they talk so much about protecting children and protecting women. And then when it comes time to protecting children and women from predators, specifically men, suddenly they're not so worried about protecting women and children. Suddenly it's a gray area. But when it comes to a trans person existing that hurts nobody, that they're going 10 toes down on. Jennifer said, happy birthday to one of the best gens around. Thank you. Kyle said, for our favorite 60-year-old, what do you call a cheap circumcision? A ripoff. Ouch. Oh. I don't like that one bit. That's horrific.
State High Court's ruling is unanimous, writing in part, quote, the church deemed any communication Paul made during the council proceeding confidential under church doctrine. Thus, we conclude that Paul's alleged admissions to the council were at a minimum confidential communications for purposes of the reporting statute.
I don't understand this. The church deemed any communication Paul made during the council proceeding confidential under church doctrine. Church doctrine overrides the law? Church doctrine overrides the law. There is no such thing as trans people. Glad I could. Yeah. Joseph's just closing his eyes. If I say it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. Yeah, Josh, I bet the clitoris doesn't exist too. Two things that you're not seeing or finding: trans women and the clitoris. Yeah, it doesn't exist, dude. It's a myth. Don't worry about it. It's not your fault. It's their fault for pretending something exists that doesn't exist.
The court also ruled that communications with non-clergy council members were still protected as confidential under church doctrine. so church officials were not required to report the abuse. Cadogan says she intends to appeal this case, which is on behalf of 3 of Adams's kids, to the U.S. Supreme Court.
What are they to believe in? Who do they have faith in? Certainly not any institution here.
In a statement, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints says in part, quote, Arizona law also recognizes the confidential nature of religious confession.
Why? Motherfucking why? Why can you go admit to abusing a child in front of clergy and the clergy is not required to report that to law enforcement? Why? What possible use is that? I don't understand how these laws are still in existence. How is it that we're supposed to look at a religious organization like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints where they come out with a statement that say, hey, we didn't report this to the law because we don't have to. The law says we don't have to. Well, you could choose to. You could change your doctrine. You could change your rules. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is a protection racket. There's some pretty fucking gross stuff coming out right now, and I hope they get sued into oblivion, but they have spent decades with their law firm trying to lobby state governments to make sure that they can be shielded from any sort of litigation.
Today's decision.
Thank you. That's a good reminder, E801. You can remove your name from the Mormon Church if you are a Mormon or former Mormon at Quit Mormon. I think it's quitmormon.org. It might be quitmormon.com. Not sure.
Affirms that these religious protections are to be respected, alongside society's shared commitment to protect the vulnerable. John, the church calls the abuse in this case reprehensible and says it's always condemned it. Reporting live downtown, Jacob Owens, News 4 Tucson.
Yeah, same with the Catholic Church. You're absolutely right. Anyways, that was personal for me. Fuck that church. I'm so tired of that. And here's a former Mormon, or actually a current Mormon right here, Jeff Flake. I ran into Jeff Flake maybe 2 or 3 months ago at a store near my house. And I didn't think he would remember me, and he didn't remember me. And I went up to Jeff Flake, and we talked for maybe 5 or 10 minutes. But essentially in our conversation, what I told him is, hey, I appreciate that you are willing to go against your own party when it comes to standing up for other people. You've done what's right, and although we disagree on virtually everything, I just wanted to shake your hand and tell you thank you. Jeff Flake was a senator here in Arizona and essentially was run out because he voted. I believe his vote, if I remember correctly, was about the people that were accusing Donald Trump of sexual abuse, and he voted to hear from them. And that's it. And that was enough for Republicans, the not authoritarian Republican Party, to take one of their most conservative members and run them out for Donald Trump, because he had the audacity to listen to people who accused Donald Trump of sexually abusing them. But it's not authoritarian, guys. Joseph's let us know it's not authoritarian. They just all blindly follow what Donald Trump says because that's what they actually want. It's their own choice. They have free will. It's not authoritarian. By the way, authoritarianism isn't only available in the absence of free will. You're making a decision to allow it to be authoritarian. That's how we got here. Asa Sophia said, "I'm glad I'm an atheist. Churches are making me distance them even more." Here we go. Former Senator Jeff Flake backs Jon Ossoff. Ossoff picked up a high-profile endorsement Tuesday from former U.S. Senator Jeff Flake, an Arizona Republican, whose clashes with Trump prompted him to back other prominent Democrats. Flake said he still disagrees with Ossoff on key policy issues, but in an interview with the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, he said character outweighed those partisan differences. "I'm still a conservative Republican, but character matters. And I want someone in that seat who takes the institution seriously and will protect the institution." See how easy that is, Republicans? See how easy it would be for you to remain a conservative, remain a Republican, and not defend awful people? See how easy that is? Pretty easy. The endorsement comes as Republican nominee U.S. Rep. Mike Collins faces questions about whether he can broaden his appeal beyond the MAGA voters. who helped him win the nomination. And it gives Ossoff a prominent GOP ally as he courts swing voters in one of the nation's most competitive Senate contests. Georgia's a lot like Arizona. Georgia and Arizona love John McCain Republicans. That's what they're looking for. They want somebody who is pragmatic. They want somebody who wants to work across party lines. They want somebody who will go to Congress and legislate. Now, again, I don't love their policies. We talked about this the other day, but it wasn't that long ago. Just before Trump, it's not that long ago. You could look back and you could look at the Republicans and you could say, I think they're wrong, but they're acting mostly in good faith. Not anymore. There's no good faith any longer in this in Trump's GOP. Flake's clashes with Trump ultimately helped end his Senate career. Facing a difficult GOP primary, he declined to seek re-election in 2018 and used his announcement to issue a warning about the direction of his party. Since then, by the way, after the Republicans ran him out, guess what happened? Democrats kept winning Senate seats. Now the Republicans don't have a senator in Arizona because they ran off Jeff Flake. If they didn't, Jeff Flake would likely still be the senator. Arizona has no problem keeping people in the Senate for a long time, and they like somebody like Jeff Flake who doesn't just fall in line. Around that time, he also endorsed Democrat Doug Jones in Alabama's 2017 race. He later supported Joe Biden for president in 2020 and Harris in 2024. In each case, he argued that character and defense of democratic institutions was more important than party loyalty. After Biden won the 2020 presidential race, he nominated Flake to be U.S. ambassador to Turkey, which is a role he held in 2020 until 2024. It's not that hard, Republicans. It's really not that fucking hard. You could be good people and still be a Republican. You just can't keep defending this orange blowhard. And let's get to that orange blowhard and how well he's doing. Here's everybody's favorite pollster, Harry Enten. I have a couple Harry Enten clips today, but let's look at Trump's polling numbers now. If you listen to Trump, he has the best polling numbers he's ever had. That's just patently false. He doesn't. He's at historic lows, but because it's Trump, he'll say the exact opposite, and everybody who still loves him will be like, polls are fake, everything's fake, none of this is real. Cue a bunch of dipshits in the chat going, CNN, yeah, right.
Yeah, if President Trump thinks his own polls are good, he is simply put not on planet Earth. He is on some planet far, far, far away, in a galaxy far, far, far away. I mean, just look at this. It has been a steady decline, like a slide going into the sea. You know, you go back January 2025, +6. May of 2025.
Hey, mods, why don't on YouTube, why don't you mute the word cope? And so that Joseph's forced to make different arguments other than just saying cope all the time.
-7. September of 2025, -8. December of 2025, -13. April of 2026, -17. And now in an average of polls, he is 21 points under water. This is the lowest he has been in term number 2. The bottom line is...
Now, you can say that this is fake. It's hard to fake this many polls that are like slowly moving in the direction of him being historically unpopular. You also can just look at any of the special elections that we've had since he became president, and Democrats are sweeping those. Again, they've won 100% of contested elections, 100% since Trump took office. There's virtually no evidence that these numbers are incorrect. There's overwhelming evidence that these poll numbers are accurate in terms of how people are voting.
Trump is at record lows for himself in term number 2. He is very much underwater despite whatever he is claiming up in his head of his. Yeah, if President Trump thinks...
All right. So historically unpopular. And ironically enough, the people who are becoming popular are the Democratic Socialists. I wanted to show this polling now. This is polling for El Sayed, who is now a huge favorite to win the Democratic nomination. I don't know. I've seen conflicting polling. What is it? Haley Stevens says that the Republicans want to run against El Sayed. I don't know if that's true or not. I saw some early polling that showed that El Sayed would lose pretty convincingly, and that Haley Stevens, is it Stevens or Steven? It's Stevens, right? Haley Stevens would win. I've seen those polls come back. I do think that there's something to that. I don't know that he is the most likely person to win that Senate seat. I think Haley Stevens might have a better chance at winning that Senate seat. However, it doesn't look like that's how things are going to play out.
Yeah, I think that tomorrow Abdullah Syed will deliver the big.
Oh, by the way, this is today. This was from yesterday, I believe. I believe today. Do we have Michigan people here? Today's primary day in Michigan, right? I think so. OCD said, "Can you remind everyone while the church?" Yeah, let me do that in a minute. OCD, I appreciate the donation. I'll do that when we're done with this. I'll keep this up so I remember it.
Biggest blow so far against the establishment of the Democratic Party, because he is the heavy favorite going into tomorrow. Just take a look at the prediction market odds. Okay, chance to be the Michigan Democratic Senate nominee, Abdullah Syed. Look at this. He's up to a 98% chance according to the Kalshi prediction markets. Way up like a rocket compared to where he was on April 3rd when he was just a 28% chance just a few months ago. The bottom line is this. You look at all the data that is out there. Abdullah Syed is the very heavy favorite going into tomorrow. And of course, he is backed by a lot of folks on the left wing of the Democratic Party. And at this point, as I said at the beginning, he looks tomorrow to deliver the biggest blow so far against the establishment wing of the Democratic Party.
Ty said, I think they reopened the J6 fund before or after the election? After.
Some sense of just the amount of anger that is there, really at incumbents.
Yeah.
Not at, just a particular person, but at incumbents, at people who are the establishment.
Sarah, I think this is part of a larger story within the Democratic Party, right? That is why
Michigan and Minnesota are going in the toilet. Yeah, Mike, shut the fuck up while, the Republicans are running the entire country and it's going so fucking poorly. It is going so much worse than any of us actually even predicted. The irony of you guys tearing apart the country, destroying our economy piece by piece, blowing up manufacturing, blowing up farming, expanding the national debt, and then being like, if you don't vote for Republicans, you're in the toilet. Nobody. This is why you guys lose. This is why you've lost every election since Trump won. Every fucking one. Trump won the election because people remembered how things were before COVID, and they gave Trump credit for that. And they were all wrong, and you were all wrong too. But nobody's buying your bullshit anymore. You can't scare people away from this. The more you talk, the more people move away from you. So I guess I shouldn't even criticize it. Keep doing it. It's not going well for you. Nobody thinks that Republicans have a plan or are doing a good job. Nobody. This is significantly worse than the first time around. None of your lives are getting better. You're just like, but it's the guy I voted for, so I'm happy. Amy said, did you see the young Republicans boo Vivek off the stage? No. Will you send that to me? If you can, or send that to Jen. I want to see that.
Tomorrow is so key for understanding where the Democratic Party is right now. And you can see it nationally. What do Democrats want? Democrat and Democratic leaners who think the party needs at least major...
How good's your state doing, Joseph? What state are you in?
...changes. Look at this. In 2022, it was just 33%. Look where it is now. The clear majority of Democratic voters are those who lean towards the Democratic Party. 57%. A clear majority believe that the party needs at least major changes. No wonder what we've seen so far is incumbents go down and defeat the House of Representatives. No wonder what we've seen so far this Democratic primary season is the establishment losing and losing and losing again in key races. And no wonder that...
Wait, what are you talking about, Mike? Pay attention to the Democratic Party imploding because of the Democratic Social... What do you mean imploding? They're winning every election. They've won every single election. Yes, Democrats are losing to Democratic Socialists in every race. Yeah. My friend, I don't know where the fuck you think you are right now. But there's a whole lot of Democratic Socialists here. I'm not a Democratic Socialist, but I sure as shit would vote for all of these candidates over who they're running against. You're talking about one of the most popular movements, especially amongst young people ever in this country. Falling apart? Yeah, but my friend, we don't want Chuck Schumer. We don't want Nancy Pelosi. The party is expanding right now. Yeah, we don't like the establishment. We're getting rid of the establishment. And we're doing it with people who are coming up with ideas that help working class people. It's a real movement. It's not centered around one guy like you guys did. It's a real movement about real ideas that really help American people. It's silly for you to think we're afraid of Democratic Socialists. We want more of that. It's clear that Democrat voters want more Democratic Socialists. Mom Donnie could have easily lost being a Democratic socialist, but regular, everyday Democrats went and voted for him. How do you explain that these people are winning elections but are also not popular? How does that work out? How do they win these elections then? And do you think that the Democrats that didn't vote for them in the primaries are going to be like, you know what? I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go join Trump. No, because what do you have to offer? They know what you have to offer. A tanking economy, increasing inflation, wages that aren't keeping up, housing that's unaffordable, wars that nobody agrees with, military budget that's out of control, increased spending that is out of control, a corrupt president who seems to be focused on nothing but like making Washington D.C. look as tacky as fucking possible, and then blowing through all our munitions, all while making billions of dollars running Ponzi schemes. You don't have a platform that anybody's going to move towards. You can play scare tactics all you want, but the one thing I know that none of you will do, including you, Mike, is tell me what Republicans are offering that's any different. Until you offer something different, don't be surprised when you keep losing.
Abdul Assayed is favored tomorrow because the Democratic Party's voters at this point are so upset with the establishment. They're saying anything else, please. And Abdul Assayed, who just 8 years ago during Trump's first term got blown out running for Michigan governor against Gretchen Whitmer, tomorrow is the heavy favorite because simply put, the Democratic Party is looking for something new.
There you go. Yeah, we'll all live in breadline. Keep saying it. Yeah, we want North Korea. For sure, that's what we want. We're all going to have breadlines. See how you guys have nothing to fucking say? Honestly, we've all heard this shit for 30 fucking years. Some of us that have been around longer have heard it for 60 fucking years. You are the dipshits who cry wolf, and you've been crying the same wolf, the communism scare, since the early 1900s, and guess what? It never fucking works. It works in times when America's doing well, but every time America struggles, the American voters go, you know what? We'd like to expand the role of the government in ensuring that people have a living wage, that people can afford a house, that people can go to school. All you had to do was regulate capitalism. That's all you Republicans had to do, was not take it directly in the ass from corporate donors, and you couldn't do that. You couldn't put up a little bit of fight. You couldn't put your hand back there or anything. You're just like, you know what? Go ahead and put your entire fist up there and work our politicians like puppets, and we will gladly repeat everything that you say. We will just allow our entire party to be hijacked by a handful of corporate oligarchs. And now you're like, oh, what if workers have rights? What if you have health care? And you could just look all across the world, and every country that's doing well has single-payer healthcare, every last one of them, and not one of them wants to do what we're doing. And you think that saying breadlines is going to scare people? Like, respectfully, get fucked. The only times in this country where we've actually had breadlines have come at times like now, where wealth inequality was at all-time highs. And that wealth inequality was driven by really stupid policy. Policy like not taxing the rich, not having progressive taxes. Policy like massive deregulation. Policy like not regulating traders. Policy like allowing union busting. Dismantling worker protections. That's what always leads to breadlines. That's what led to the Great Depression. It wasn't socially. We didn't get the Great Depression because the size of government was too big and we were offering too many services to everybody. No. We let a handful of people have all the money. And those people with all the money said, fuck you. We're not taking care of everybody. We got to take care of ourselves. And our entire economy collapsed. And we're on the verge of that right now. And you guys are still just out here dick riding and cheerleading for these corporate puppeteers with their hands up the asses of all of your favorite politicians. You don't have an argument. If you did, you would present one. Your only argument is Dems bad, socialism scary, breadlines. Tell me what you offer. I'm not a democratic socialist. Give me something better. I'll use this platform to talk about whatever policies are going to work. Give me a policy you think is going to work.
And they are looking to.
We have a progressive tax system. I want a more progressive tax system. Of course, we have a progressive tax system. Taxes are far too low, and it's only a progressive tax system on paper. By the way, the more wealth you get, the easier it is to not pay what you owe. I've said this. I've explained this many times, but like when I first opened my business as not with this job, but a previous job, as I opened as a sole proprietor. I didn't really understand the tax implications of that. I wrote a check to the government for literally like on the dot, like 37% of my income. I had to write a check to the Treasury, hundreds of thousands of dollars, a check to the Treasury. Then I created an LLC. My business did about the same amount of revenue the next year, and I paid roughly like 8 to 10% in taxes. Why? I had all these options. I had all these options of ways that I could avoid taxes. One of the ways that I was able to avoid taxes, I swear to God, was to buy a car. My accountant said you can pay $50,000 to the government, or you can go buy a car and write that off. Either way, you're losing that money. So do you want a car, or do you want the government to have that money? That's what my accountant was telling me to do. Because it's easy. Who can't do that? Somebody that's making 60 grand a year it's got a W-2. Yeah, you're just fucked. Our progressive tax system is a absolute facade.
Go against Haley Stevens most likely tomorrow, who of course is a sitting congresswoman.
I do want to ask you just how motivated Dems are. Where's the energy? How motivated are they to go out and vote? Because numbers matter.
Yeah, numbers matter. Who in the Democratic Party is motivated to turn out and vote this election season? The energy right now is on the left wing of the Democratic Party, where Abdul Sayed is. Just take a look here. Okay, Dems extremely motivated to vote. Look at this. 80%, 4 in 5 of those who identify as very liberal say they are extremely motivated to turn out and vote. Compare that to all others within the Democratic Party. A significantly lower chunk, just 3 in 5, 59%. Abdul Sayed kind of comes together, puts it all together as an outsider, comes from the populist progressive wing in the party, and that's why I think tomorrow he is the heavy favorite. If he does.
Whatever you want to say, and this is, I don't know if my friends, my Republican friends are watching, but this is what I was trying to explain to them the other day, is that if you choose a moderate, turnout will be low. If you choose a progressive, turnout will be high, because the people who are excited and motivated to vote are very progressive. I talked about this yesterday, but they were floating this idea. And by the way, my Republican friends all say that they would vote for Jon Ossoff over anybody the Republicans put up. And I said, I think that the smartest thing to do, if Jon Ossoff happens to be the nominee, I think the smartest thing he could do was bring in somebody that the progressives love as a VP candidate, and I would say that would be AOC. I think that particular pairing would be really fucking hard to beat, because the progressives, who have some of them sat out the last election, they weren't thrilled with Joe Biden. They weren't thrilled with the selection of Kamala Harris. They weren't thrilled with the Democrats just fucking over Bernie Sanders. Like these are people who have been burned by Democrats over and over and over again. You're going to have to appease them because those are the people who are getting out to vote right now. So if you throw up moderates, you're fucked. Establishment Democrats are trying to throw up moderates, and they're saying, nah, sorry. This movement is so powerful that Democratic socialists are beating establishment candidates who have massive war chests. You don't even need a massive war chest in order to beat these establishment candidates. That's how popular they are. Also, Sophia said, fun fact, Iceland was the first country in the world to vote in a woman president in 1980. Now we have our second female president. Congratulations, Iceland. Well done. And also, Iceland did vote in woman president, woman prime minister, woman minister of foreign affairs, and government is democratic socialist. Also, a woman is a bishop. I don't know exactly what that role is. Amy said, poverty and government dependency is highest in Republican states, and it is majority white conservatives. True. Fact check, true.
As I said at the beginning of this segment, it would be the biggest blow against the Democratic establishment so far, sort of culmination of all the factors we've seen this primary season.
This is certainly bubbling up, and then you, of course, have the general, and that's a whole different thing.
We will discuss that.
We'll discuss that later.
We'll discuss that later. Let's set the primary first.
Got to get through the primary first. These are really interesting numbers. Wow.
Yeah.
Harry, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Socialists will lose to moderates and Republicans. Well, then how come they're not losing to moderates? If they're going to lose, then how come they keep winning? What's going on there? Do I think Bill Clinton was a good president and had good policies during his time? I think that what Bill Clinton was really good at is getting done what he could get done. If you put Bill Clinton into office right now, he would have been extremely ineffective. He existed in a time when there was kind of broad consensus across both Republicans and Democrats that we needed to address spending. And he came from Arkansas. He was seen as like a purple governor. He wasn't seen as a progressive, and he was able to preside over a Congress that got things done. Like, that does matter. I don't think he could do that today. I think we're years away from Congress willing to work with each other. Like, it's as divided as it's ever been. But yeah, I think he did an okay job, and I think that that's how our government is supposed to function. It's supposed to function where people reach across the aisle and find common ground, and I think that's what's going to happen here. Like, if Democratic Socialists can make enough noise, we're not going to get, like, the DSA platform that everybody wants to terrify you about. We're going to go over that in a minute. I actually really like it, but like, they're not going to accomplish most of that. What is working though that they're saying? There's broad consensus that we need to end this war in Iran and that we need to stop funding Israel. There's now broad consensus that we should have single-payer health care. Those aren't going to scare people off, and those are two massive things. I've said a million times, the only two things that I really care about in these upcoming elections is single-payer health care, Medicare for all specifically, and getting money out of politics, ending Citizens, not even necessarily like ending Citizens United, but writing legislation that makes that Citizens United ruling obsolete. I would like state and federally funded elections. I don't think we should have super PACs. I don't think we should have attack ads. I don't think we should have political ads. I think if you want to run for office, you get on a debate stage and you give your opinion. And and there's a certain amount allotted to you to campaign, and there's events that you can go campaign, and we'll see who shows up. So anybody running on that platform, I'm game. I don't care what your party is. If you're running on, let's do single payer healthcare, let's get all money out of politics, you're probably going to get my vote. Even if you're a Republican, you'd get my vote for that. I live in Arizona. I have the opportunity only to vote for a Republican, basically, for Congress. If the Republican running for Congress in my area said, I support single payer and I support getting all money out of politics, I would vote for them. It's not a partisan thing for me. It's an idea thing. And once again, to those who consistently are shitting on the DSA, tell me what your policy is that counteracts any of this excitement. What is going to excite Republicans getting to the polls? Just fear of communism? That's it? Just fear, despite there being no communists, just you think enough people are going to be so afraid of the word communism that they're going to show up to the polls? If you do think that, you're also admitting that you offer nothing. You are the status quo. This is business as usual, except for Trump's making a fortune. The only difference between Trump and like what we've been doing is that Trump's personally profiting. Why did Democrats hate Jews and Nazis? Bro, what? What do you mean? Did they used to? Are you saying they used to? I don't know. Ask them. I was a Republican my whole life. I don't give a fuck about Democrats. You know who didn't hate Jews, though? Progressives. You know who hated Nazis? Progressives. You know who loved the Nazis? Conservatives. You know who loves Nazis today? Conservatives. You guys, literally, America First was the policy of the American Nazi Party. I'm not even joking about it. They stole America First from the American Nazi Party. It's one thing to go back in history and be like, well, the Republicans were different in the 1930s than they are now. But then you're like, Trump's like, actually, no, we're not. Stephen Miller's like, no, we're not. We're actually exactly the same as the American Nazi Party. We have the same policy. We've gone through the platform. Let's see. Let's see if I can pull it up. 1930s. Let's see if we can find the American Nazi platform. 100% American government. 100%. Got to have some sort of lineage that makes you American. American was basically defined by white Christians. Tell me that's not you guys right now. Tell me that's not you guys talking about who should be in power. Demanded the removal of Jewish people from public office, labor unions, and key professional positions while fiercely denouncing alleged Jewish conspiracies. I don't think that's true, but isn't that what you're doing with Muslims right now? Isn't the president demanding that people who are Muslim be removed from office and be deported? called for a severing of all diplomatic ties with the Soviet Russia, outlawing communism, and stopping the arrival of refugees. Who does that sound like? Have you guys not stopped the arrival of refugees? Are you not are you not consistently talking about outlawing communism and socialism? Push for total U.S. isolationism to keep America from participating in any future European conflicts involving Germany. Huh. Aren't we involved? You guys aren't advocating for that? You're not advocating? We're not ripping away from our allies right now, saying America first? How did they accomplish this? How did they do it? They had these massive public demonstrations. They were holding rallies all the time. And they featured the American flag, but alongside another flag. In this case, it was the swastika. The swastika flag has been replaced by MAGA. Now once again, two flags. Not one flag, two. How about operating summer camps? Pushing for school choice. Pushing to get religion shoved into schools. Pushing to have Black history and indigenous history removed from our history books. We got to teach kids to be proud of their American heritage, but not the real American heritage. We got to be proud of white heritage, and we'll just not talk about all the uncomfortable stuff. What they do to Franklin Delano Roosevelt? What they call FDR? A rabid communist, socialist. And who did they align with? All the other fascist countries. Who are Trump's best friends? They're all fascists. All Trump's favorite people that we're aligned with. Erdogan in Turkey, Bukele. Who's the guy that just lost in why do I forget his name? Who's the guy that just lost in fuck. Help me out. I don't remember what country. Orban. Thank you, Viktor Orban. I mean, you're almost fucking identical to the Nazi party. And then you show up here and you're like, you guys are actually the ones. Nah, I don't think so. Do not think so. I think that's you. I think that you, like the American Nazis and the German Nazis, like just the regular everyday Nazis, I think you didn't understand the implications of what you're supporting. That's the best light. And for some of you, you do understand and you still support it. That's the worst light. If I want to view things because I believe all humans inherently are good, I have to just assume that it's not your fault that you're stupid. You know? Better than those chanting death to America and Americans. Who's doing that, Mike? Who's chanting death to America and Americans that we're supporting over here? What are you talking about? Good question, Christian. Why do you need an ID to get groceries? Let's move on to that. You don't. That was a lie. Here.
These things. Which of these things do you think are actually translatable outside of New York City?
I would say the vast majority, if not all of them, frankly, because we are talking about.
Sorry, I don't know why this isn't expanding. I guess I have to go to YouTube.
We are talking about a cost of living crisis that, while it is truest here in the most expensive city in the United States of America, it is a reality for Americans, no matter what city or what state they call home. When we're talking about childcare, we're saving families in this city $20,000 a child when they enrolled their child into free 2K, which is what we're rolling out this fall with 2,000 seats. Next year, 12,000 seats. End of 4 years in office will be for every single 2-year-old in this city. When we're talking about a city-run grocery store, one in each borough, which, by the way, you do not need an ID to shop at, no matter what you've just heard in the news of today. We're talking about actually addressing the question of skyrocketing grocery prices.
All right, here's what happened. Mamdani announced the grocery stores, and then somebody from city council talked about, like, somebody's asked, like, how are you going to make sure that people don't take advantage of it? It was that arbitrage opportunity we talked about the other day, which is stupid. Like, how are you going to make sure people don't come in and buy the groceries for cheap and then sell them on the secondary grocery market, which isn't a thing, and you would make no money doing. Like, you would make virtually no money doing that. The amount of groceries you would have to provide or purchase to even make a decent profit would be astronomical. And the person said, well, it's going to be kind of like a library card. you just go and you sign up for a card. Now, I go to Albertsons. When I have a card that I can put on my keys, or I can punch in my phone number, and it gives me access to certain deals at Albertsons. That's what you get here. It's not a photo ID, just an access card that's free to sign up for. That's all you have to do. Which, by the way, all of us would be okay with when you talk about voter ID if you could just sign up for it and it was free and they sent it to your house. Nobody would argue about voter ID. That's the disconnect between you and us. You think that it's okay to demand voter ID and also make it complicated or more complicated to get ID to vote. We say, one, these laws already exist. If you're concerned about voter ID, make it easy then. And nobody's going to oppose it. For fuck's sakes, like I have a phone that can scan my eyes, that can scan my thumbprint. That's far more secure than any ID. I can do all of that. We have all sorts of solutions that would work. The Republicans are only pushing the solutions that would suppress the vote. Once again, a lot of you come off as people who have never heard the arguments against what you're saying. Despite some of you being here every day and us explaining this argument to you every single day, you come back the next day and pretend you never heard that before. For Republicans, why not make it free? There's David. David, this is why I think you're kind of dumb, man. Like, you're dismissing what Mom Donnie says because Joy Reid is on the screen. I'm sorry that this black woman makes you uncomfortable. I'm sorry about that, bud. Refute an argument, though.
We've seen in the last 6 or 7 years alone an increase in grocery prices of around 30%. And we are going to be delivering a city-run grocery store, 1 in each borough, 5 in total, that will have the staples of a shopping experience, an essential basket of goods that are discounted by 30% compared to typical retail prices. And that is something that New Yorkers will be able to feel in their pocket. They'll be able to save hundreds of dollars on an annual basis, knowing that the city is looking
Everybody knows how to get an ID, Spirit. Well, let me try this one more time. If you want everybody to get an ID, make it easy. It's not that it's hard. Like, it's a complicated process. It's time consuming. You have to have certain documentation. Not everybody has that. I don't have my birth certificate. I don't have my original Social Security card. In order for me to get that, I would have to go to a different state, go to the records office and apply and get printed off an original. I'd have to go in there to get an original, I'm pretty sure. That's what it used to be. I haven't checked in like 8 years, but I don't have that. A lot of people don't have that. The process is simple enough if you have the documentation, but even if you have all the documentation, you have to travel. Depending on how far, wherever you live. Like, if you live in a rural area, you're not going to have someplace that's readily accessible to you. If you don't have a car, you got to rely on public transportation or Uber or Lyft. That's a cost. Then you got to get down there. You got to have the right documentation. You have to take hours out of your day to go get that ID. And that's fine. That's all fine and good, I guess, except for that we could make it easier. Why don't we make it easier? We don't make it easier because Republicans want to make it really fucking difficult for people to vote. As difficult as possible within the law. That's what they want to do. They want to suppress the vote. I don't even know why I fucking argue with you guys. This is what I did for a living. I worked for the Republican Party. I worked on elections. I promise you our pre-election off years in between midterms, what we did is we tried to suppress the vote. It's what we always did. We tried to make sure that places that vote heavily for Democrats it was as difficult as possible. We went through the legal grounds, like we would gerrymander things. We'd advocate for policies where there's less polling locations, specifically in neighborhoods that aren't going to vote Republican. That's what we did. There's people that get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to go through state by state, county by county, and analyze this stuff and figure out how many votes they can suppress. And they report back to the GOP. And then the GOP, the representative's job is to name the bill something that doesn't sound like voter suppression and make a public argument that doesn't sound like voter suppression. It's always been voter suppression. This is what we did. And you can look at Democrats and you can make the same argument. Democrats try and expand voting access. And sometimes you can see as they go out and they register people to vote, you can see they get people who are not either have no legal right to vote, either because they're not a citizen or because they had their rights taken away to vote because of a felony, and they register those people to vote. And they hope that they get on the voter rolls. They hope those people vote, and they don't give a shit if those votes get through. Great. This is just reality. Democrats try and expand it. Republicans try and suppress it. That's how it's been. That's just what the data tells you. Go look at any election in history. If the numbers go, like if we look at presidential, let's look at the popular vote for president by year. Let's see if this is the right one. All right. If we look here, the person who won the presidency, when a Republican won, when Donald Trump won, got far less votes than, I think what did he wind up with? Like 76, 77, something like that? Was suppressed. Trump won here with very low vote totals. Then when he won, voting was up. And this is the Republican argument, by the way. The Republicans are arguing this exact same thing. The Democrats try and make it easier for people to vote. They say that about 2020, that Joe Biden won because they expanded access, because they allowed mail-in voting. True. That helped a ton. Was it illegal? Nope. Did they find any voter fraud? Very little. And a lot of that went in Trump's direction. You can look here, like let's go backwards now. You can see when Obama won, I mean, he was historically popular. He won re-election, but voter turnout was down. Just that Mitt Romney couldn't capitalize on that. You can look here, Obama wins in record turnout, 69 million. It's up from the Republican. You see Gore here, that's popular vote. Bush wins, loses the popular vote, wins. You can look down here at Clinton. First time around. This is the last time that Republicans won the popular vote before Trump, and then the next election, voter turnout was down, was George H.W. Bush. And George H.W. Bush ran on amnesty. He ran on ending wars. Now, he didn't do it, but he ran on it. And he ran on amnesty for immigrants, people who were undocumented. But you can go look back at this data. Like, the more you suppress the vote, the better Republicans do. The more you expand the vote, the better Democrats do. It is silly to point at one direction or the other and be like, oh, these guys do this. Yes, you can say that what Republicans are doing to suppress the vote in trying to purge these voter rolls, that they're doing it with inside the law. Courts are upholding some of the stuff they do, rejecting some of the other things that they do. But to say that Republicans don't want less people to vote is silly. All right.
To actually deliver for them on something that is a non-negotiable in their life, which is healthy and accessible food.
But before I let you go, I am going to sneak one more question in, because Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said effectively that those who criticize Israel will not be able to get their visas approved to come into the country. That will impact Columbia University, universities across New York City, where we've already seen.
No, Sean, nobody has ever expanded to allow undocumented people, or what you say, illegals. That's never happened. That's just a thing that you've been told that you keep repeating, but it's not true. That's never happened.
A lot of really alarming arrests, detainment of people based on op-eds, based on their beliefs. Are you concerned, or how free do you believe that students at places like Columbia University will be under this current administration if they, like you, have criticisms of Israel?
I think what we've seen is this administration's policies time and time again show that it has little respect for what should be constitutionally protected acts of free speech. And we know that students have so often been on the right side of history when it comes to speaking up in opposition to any aspect of inhumanity that they have seen, no matter where it is across the world. And to
what happens, Sean, you're saying it happens in your state of New Jersey right now? Sean, you're talking about voter rolls, not people who voted. You have to figure out what you're looking at. Those are voter rolls. People got registered to vote and put on the voter rolls. Okay? That doesn't mean that they voted.
respond to that kind of dissent with an attempt to criminalize it speaks to an inability to defend the actual conduct for which that dissent is targeted at.
Let's see if I know we're lying. Let's see. New Jersey voter registration. Let's look at the news here. All right, here's what House Republicans are asking for in New Jersey. 2 Republican-led congressional committees are demanding records from the Sherrill administration following the disclosure that a state error improperly placed roughly 6,600 non-citizens on New Jersey's voter rolls and then allowed fewer of 400 of them to cast a ballot, which New Jersey found. And you know what? You know who's to blame for this, by the way? You know what allowed this? A software that the federal government uses that didn't have proper checks. Yeah, I just said that 400 cast their ballots. That's what I just said. They did vote to see it. How do you think they got this number? How do you think we got this number of 400 people that cast their ballots? Yeah, Sean, that's what I just said. But who allowed that? John, it wasn't Democrats. Democrats didn't allow it. You said Democrats let them cheat. That's not what happened. A software that other states use allowed people, non-citizens to vote. That's not a Democrat problem. That happened here in Arizona too. The state legislature is completely Republican controlled. And yeah, thank you, Swiss. That's 0.00006%. And by the way, this number too. I don't remember how many, what the date ranges were here. Between June of 2023 and June of 2024. So this wasn't even in the presidential election. This was in a state election with Phil Murphy. Was Phil Murphy a Democrat? Republican? Democrat. Okay. Joe said the software was corrected in June of 2024. So it's actually already been fixed. The previous administration found the problem, fixed the problem. This happened in 2024. And you're talking about it now. Why? Because you're told to talk about it. That's why. Somebody brought it to your attention because they're trying to convince you that Democrats are cheating. There we go. All right. That was Mama Donnie on this one. I want to talk about El Said. But first, I want to show Laura Ingraham. Is she trying to sell her audience on socialism? Is this the fear-mongering that's going to work?
So as much as Carville and Maher may dislike or distrust Trump, remember the promised prosecutions that they are advocating for, Piker over the weekend. They're going to promise prosecutions of Trump and his family, then ICE officials, anyone who worked for ICE, then the entire system will be put on trial before it's ultimately dismantled. So Democrats, you got to nip this in the bud now.
Okay. Prosecute Trump, the criminals, ICE. Yeah. Good idea. And then the whole system's on trial. This is my favorite part.
Before it's ultimately dismantled, will be put on trial. Anyone who worked for ICE, then the entire system will be put on trial.
You can't put a system on trial. This is fear-mongering. guys, they're going to prosecute Trump. We can't let that happen. Why? Why shouldn't we investigate people who are breaking the law? That's why we're saying like it's a cult. You don't even want the people on your side investigated. You're almost like, don't investigate us. It's not fair. They didn't commit a crime. They didn't commit a crime. Last time Trump was investigated, all 3 cases that went to court, he lost. He's guilty every time he goes to court. Seems like that's what they're most afraid of, is that, oh, they're all going to go to jail because they're all criminals.
Before it's ultimately dismantled. So Democrats, you got to nip this in the bud now. Because if the socialists get a foothold in November, they could end up being the dominant force in the party for the next 40 years. So as much as Carville and Maher may dislike or distrust Trump,
let's talk about this DSA platform, and let's be honest with it, because I don't know if everybody's going to agree with the DSA platform. To be honest, I don't know. I haven't even read through it all the way, but here's on the DSA website, and I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm going to go to each bullet point. This is a overview of what they want. Freedom to flourish. Democratic Socialists of America want to expand public resources to support recreation, learning, and social spaces accessible to all. They would like to establish paid family leave for all workers, a 32-hour work week with full pay and benefits, and a living wage, provide free, quality public education from pre-K to college, and cancel all student debt. What's wrong with this? I did want Hillary investigated. Brother, you don't know who the fuck you're talking to. If you think for 1 second that I don't think Hillary Clinton should be investigated, she was investigated. Unlike all of these dipshits that you worship, Hillary Clinton stood in front of Congress and answered questions for hours upon hours upon hours. She's been investigated extensively. And I never once called for her not to be investigated. At the time when she's being investigated, I was a Republican. Investigate Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton and Hillary came in and sat for depositions about the Epstein files. Where's the Republicans? They're not showing up for depositions. Out of your fucking minds. What's the problem with this? What's the problem with providing quality public education from pre-K to college and canceling student debt? What's the problem with expanding public resources to support recreation, learning, and social spaces? What's wrong with all that? She was investigated. They found that she broke the law, and then they did nothing. That's not true. They found that she did not break the law. However, you can blame the Trump administration for not continuing that investigation. Blame them. Trump was president. That was his DOJ. Don't get mad at me. IMFRCD said, if you didn't do nothing wrong, what's the problem? Good question. All right, how about this? Healthcare for all. Guarantee universal healthcare at no cost to individuals, including complete access to reproductive and gender-affirming care, expand healthcare access and quality by investing in new public hospitals and clinics, make all medical education and training public and free. All right, here's the parts where they'll struggle. And let's just be honest about this. I'm not advocating for this. When they say at no cost to individuals, they mean it's paid through by taxation, not that it is free and is paid by somebody else. There's a lot of different ways that you can fund Medicare for all. You can do it through corporate taxes. You can do it through taxing the rich. You can do it through speculative taxes. You can do it through an income tax, like exactly what you do with Medicare and Medicaid. Down goes TikTok, by the way. TikTok's down. Where they're going to have some pushback here, and I don't know how they're going to address this, but is expanding healthcare access and, complete access to reproductive and gender-affirming care. That's going to be a negotiation. I don't know where they're going to land there, but there's enough moderate Democrats and then, of course, Republicans who are going to want to draw some sort of line when it comes to reproductive and gender-affirming care. Again, this is a wish list, and I'm trying to be pragmatic to where they're going to get. I think you can get Medicare for all, and over time you're going to expand that. But I think initially, like, our friends in the trans community are going to be very frustrated by their lack of access to healthcare. Women are not going to be fully made whole with their access to healthcare either. And I hope I'm wrong about that, but that's just a guess. Housing for all. Now, this is difficult. I don't think anybody, in fact, I don't even know that anybody's necessarily running on this, but the DSA wants this. Housing's a human right. Build new publicly owned social housing, strictly regulate investment properties, establish universal rent control, and guarantee the right to counsel for all tenants. A lot of this I like. I love especially the right to counsel for all tenants. I like universal rent control. Well, I don't like universal rent control. I like it done on a local level just because the price of rent varies from area to area. I think this is something that you're going to run into a issue with states' rights and local economies. I don't think you can do that. Strictly regulating investment properties, I love. And I'm fine with publicly owned social housing. I think that's great. Finish Reconstruction, end the legacies of slavery and colonialism, reinforce anti-discrimination laws, honor all treaties and tribal sovereignty, enact reparations, and massively invest in good jobs, quality housing and infrastructure, and neglected minority communities. This is very fucking simple. We made agreements with tribal communities regarding their own sovereignty. We should revisit those. Treaties. We should revisit those agreements. We should look where we have and have not kept our end of the agreement, and we should provide restitution when necessary. Freed slaves in this country were guaranteed 40 acres and a mule. You can take that 40 acres and a mule. You can assign a dollar value to it, and then you can take the inflation and compare it to now, and you can say, what would 40 acres and a mule look like now, especially with inflation and with you could pick a standardized level of wealth accumulation, and you can fix that as well. This is just a matter of, should we keep our promises? Abso-fucking-lutely. Are reparations really fucking difficult to navigate? Yeah. Should we do it? Yeah. And there's a way you can do it, and it's not going to come out perfect. None of these are going to come out perfect, but what's wrong with that? What's wrong with fulfilling our promise when it comes to reparations? Fixed prices cost double money? That's not true. All right. End mass incarceration and police immunity. Demilitarize police departments, disempower police unions, and redirect funding to public services as steps towards fully abolishing the police and prison system, which protects the rich and jails the poor. Treat drug addiction and mental illness as health issues, not crimes. End qualified immunity and empower civilian oversight bodies with real authority over the police. Yeah. Absolutely. Anybody have an argument for any of that? An argument against any of that? Whites and Asians have subsidized blacks and Latinos $400 billion per year. That's a crazy thing to say. Just live up to your promises. Why? I don't know where you're getting that number from, and I think that what you're saying in subsidizing is just saying like that white people made more money, and so they had to pay for some of this infrastructure and things maybe SNAP or Medicare or Medicaid. Well, yeah. Why were black people disproportionately affected? They were handed nothing. They were promised something, they got nothing. They were promised to be made whole, and they got nothing instead. So yeah, I mean, that's fine. You can be upset about that, but that's because we didn't keep our promise. Feminism for all. This one's interesting. Socialist feminism fights for queer liberation and the freedoms of all working class women. Stop gender violence and end policies that oppress bodily autonomy and intimate life, including patriarchal restrictions on abortion, childbirth and child raising, gender expression and transition, marriage and divorce. Ban sex discrimination and ensure fair compensation and support for all forms of labor, including care work. Now, this is just one of those things that you can't do necessarily. Like, you can do some work federally. This is something that, as part of the ideology, Democratic Socialists are going to have to work to get elected on local board or local governments and change a lot of stuff. But is there any opposition to any of that? Republicans, do you have any opposition to making sure that everybody has equal rights? Leftists only listen to respond, not to learn. Listen, my friend, you can come up here and you can explain things to me. You can't say that we only listen to respond and not to learn when none of you will come up here and talk to me. You can message JenDub1. If you look at the Venmo username at the top left corner, JenDub1 is Jen's Discord username. You can come up here at any time and refute anything that I say. You can use your own voice. We have a voice channel set up in our Discord specifically for this, so you can come up live. So before you complain about that, you can come up. Neely said, MAGA, you live in a society. You're going to pay taxes that pay for things for people. If you don't want to do that, then go live in a cave. I'll help you pack. Snoopy, thanks for joining the $2 train. Appreciate that. Just a reminder, guys, we are crowdfunded. We rely on your generosity to hit our gift goals every day and keep the lights on here. It's also Jen's birthday, so if you want to send Jen a special message for her birthday, she's sharing that birthday with Barack Obama and Damien, and there was one other person whose birthday it was. I apologize. Can't remember whose birthday it was. There was one other person. Sorry in advance. All right, and then last but not least, the Green New Deal. Workers must lead our democratic transition to a green future, pass a federal jobs guarantee, implement massive investment in sustainable, publicly owned energy and transit infrastructure, phase out the use of fossil fuels, reclaim and repair our Earth's resources for all. I was thinking about this the other day when I was driving, and I was stuck in traffic. Just how nice it would be if I had public transportation. How nice it would be to not have to worry about being rear-ended by the dipshit behind me who was so frustrated with traffic that they felt they had to ride my ass. It's the same person who got in a wreck later. I just, all right, what's wrong with public transportation? You can still have a car, I guess, if you want to, but let's get public transportation. Let's have the energy be clean. Let's make it easier. And the U.S. war machine, defund the Department of War, end all foreign wars, and close overseas military bases. Support and fully employ veterans, end immunity for U.S. war criminals, and support the International Criminal Court's mandate to prosecute war crimes. What's the argument there? Teabags, shut the fuck up. Come up here and talk to me. Stop talking. Democrats have been playing the reparations game since I've been alive. Yeah, and who's opposing it? Why do you think we don't? Why do you think reparations haven't been paid? Why do they have to keep fighting for it? Because there's somebody opposing reparations. There's somebody consistently opposing civil rights. There's somebody consistently opposing equal rights for women. Who might that be? We oppose it every step of the way, but it's your fault for not getting it done. Oh, okay. Captain Homer said, are there always so many bots in the chat? Not sure. Proud Atheist says, it's just a recalibration of priorities. Agreed. Free Palestine. That's easy. Recognize the rights of the Palestinian people, including the right of return, the right to resist military occupation, and the right to self-determination in a free Palestine with Jerusalem as its capital. End all military and economic aid to Israel. Prosecute U.S. and Israeli leaders responsible for the genocide in Gaza. Love it. It's not going to happen. This prosecution part, good luck. But I do agree with that. End blockades, embargoes, and sanctions. Yeah, can we stop fucking with every government who doesn't just like bend the knee to capitalism? Can we just do that, please? Abolish ICE, of course. ICE was meant to go after terrorists after 9/11. They're clearly not doing that. They've clearly been bastardized and rolled into something that they were never intended to be in the image of Nazi brown shirts. I'm not even willing to like have an argument about that. It just is what it is. That's just true. Until then the next election, they'll bring up reparations again and again. Yeah, they keep bringing it up because they don't get reparations. Why do you want our country to be a country that lies? Why do you want our country to be a country that doesn't pay our bills? Why? Why should we not be? Why should we not make people whole? What's wrong with that? Democracy for all. Extend full voting rights to all permanent U.S. residents and restore the right to vote for incarcerated people and people with criminal convictions. I'm fine with that. That'll be difficult. I don't. It's not like a huge thing for me. I think if you have crimes against children or violent crimes, I don't really care if you're never allowed to vote. That's fine by me. But there are certain people who have committed crimes that I don't know if they should be able to vote. But then you can probably make a principled argument that if you've paid your price, you should be able to vote. I don't care a great deal about that. If like logically, I think it makes sense to people who are incarcerated or have criminal convictions should be allowed to vote. They do live in this country. Some of their rights are already being taken because of their criminal history. Should we take their right to vote? I'd probably be convinced that they should be allowed to vote, but it doesn't bother me that much. For the working class to govern, we need this is a real democracy. We need a new political system, end political corruption and legalize bribery, get rid of lobbyists, dark money, citizens united, and publicly finance all elections. Abolish the Electoral College, replace the president and Supreme Court with an executive and judiciary chosen and subordinate to Congress. I'm fine with all of that. We've seen what happens now when one party becomes deathly loyal to the president. The president can act unilaterally and extra constitutionally. And I don't like that. I think that there should be some oversight that can stop the president from doing whatever the fuck they want. A Democratic Congress, replace the two-party system with a multi-party democracy, expand the House of Representatives, implement proportional representation and ranked choice voting in all elections, and abolish the Senate. I'm all on board with that. We should just have Congress. I go ahead and eliminate political parties if you want. I don't know how you force multi-party, but yeah, we should have proportional representation, and ranked choice should not be an option. Who doesn't want ranked choice? The establishment of both sides. They don't want to lose power. If you guys want some of your power back, Republicans, Democrats, MAGA, whoever the fuck you are, you want ranked choice voting. You're not blocked, bud. Mike, you're not blocked. Why are you crying about being blocked? I can see some of the things you say probably get blocked by an auto mod. I can't even block you, bud. I have no ability to block any of you. If you're being blocked, you're being blocked by mods or an auto mod for breaking the rules. Establish public ownership of the largest corporations and essential industries to ensure democratic control and accountability to the people. This is an easy one. This is incredibly easy. If a corporation is too big to fail, meaning that if they fail, our country is in desperate. I guess it creates like a economic downturn that hurts too many people, then the government should own part of that company. We should nationalize our oil. We all should own the oil collectively. The oil companies shouldn't own the oil. It's not theirs. We can pay them to drill for oil. We can pay them to refine the oil. That's fine. But we should own the oil, and we should share in those profits. The oil companies just had record profits. They're making more money now than they've ever made before, and you guys are paying for it. And it's our oil. It's under the United States land. I don't know why we give that to oil companies. It's a silly thing that we do. I think it's a stupid thing that we do. So I'm a big fan of that. Democracy at work. Empower workers to come together and fight the boss. Protect, expand, and enforce the rights of all workers to form, join, and strike with their unions, regardless of industry. Support union members who organize reform caucuses, democratize their unions, and take political action. In other words, don't force everybody to be a cuck to their boss. Republicans in here are like, but we like being cucks. It's what we do. We need to be cucks to our boss, or we won't know. He needs to make all the money. Stacy, thank you for the donation there. Appreciate you very much. All right, moving on. Now let's go to. I went too far there. Back to El Sayed was asked specifically about his lack of support and his criticism of Israel. And everybody knows that El Sayed is not anti-Semitic. This is just what people say that love Israel and are Zionists. But nothing he has said has ever been critical of the Jewish people. It's simply of Zionism and the state of Israel.
Your campaign has been largely and loudly populist, but also...
Oh, you did? I hate to tell you this, Brian, but I've calculated that there's no peaceful way to end this. You can't calculate it. That doesn't make any sense. There's no math equation that would allow you to calculate that. So I'm going to go ahead and not believe you.
So anti-Zionist, and you've sort of married those two things, equating funding for Israel with underfunding healthcare, for example. Are you worried that framing, juxtaposing the Jewish...
We give the oil to the oil companies because you don't know how to fucking refine oil. Yeah, they do. So let's pay them to refine oil, and let's not give them the oil. Let's just pay them to do the thing that they know how to do, right? It's ours. We own it. So let's share in the profits. We can pay them to refine the oil. You're right. I don't know how to refine oil. I'm also not a school teacher, but I paid school teachers.
Funding for the Jewish state against the needs of, in your own words, our own people echoes an old anti-Semitic trope?
Let me just be very, very clear. You know who benefits from guaranteed health care in this country? Jewish Americans. The idea that somehow we are going to use the specter of anti-Semitism to defend what a foreign government is doing actually does a deep disservice to the well-being of Jewish Americans in this country. Judaism and the Jewish people are a light unto the world, beautiful faith, beautiful people. The contributions that they've made to this country alone are staggering. And I'm looking forward to standing with the Jewish community against anti-Semitism. After all, anti-Semitism and Islamophobia are one in the same, and we need to take them on.
True. God, you're getting pretty good at this. Kelly, thanks for sending your Antifa dues. Reminder, guys, get your Antifa dues in early this month. Antifa barbecue will be at the headquarters, and it's BYOB.
But we cannot sit idly by and ask, why is it that our $3.3 billion a year at baseline is used to fund apartheid at baseline, genocide over the last several years, a war we have no business fighting, with the attempt to annex the southern part of a neighboring country, and then wonder why our kids' schools look like they did 50 years ago? The reality of this is that
respectfully,
we
you
cannot
haven't
continue.
made that same trade-off argument with regards to other items in the U.S.'s $800 billion
I have. You
defense
just
budget.
don't cover it. No, I have. You just don't cover it. I'll say the same thing about the money we send to Egypt, which is where my family comes from. So if you want to go ahead and call me anti-Egyptian, go ahead and do that. But the reality is that on principle, I don't think we should be sending unconditional foreign military aid to any government, because none of us actually pay our tax dollars.
On principle, then, are you against
military.
ethno-religious states writ large?
On principle, I absolutely am.
Boom.
For campaign.
Thank you. That's an easy one. No ethno-religious states. If they're going to exist, we should not support them. We don't need to give them any money. I also don't think we should go to war against them just for being who they are, but we should not support them. That's an easy one. Right? Like, it's pretty easy to say no to Israel. Should be, if you have any principles at all. Unless you just think for some reason that Jewish people are ethnically superior and they deserve ethno-supremacy, then I don't know why you would still be a Zionist at this point or be supporting Israel. It doesn't make a great deal of sense to me. Thanks, Hey Howdy, for getting in your Antifa dues. I appreciate that. All right. Yeah, I want to talk about this. One of the things that's in the DSA platform, and I'd love to get more details from somebody who works at the DSA, talking about public housing and making housing a right. I don't know how they plan to accomplish that, so I'm okay with the idea of it. I'd have to see what the plan is. I haven't done my research on that. If anybody knows and can point me in a direction, please let me know. But I wanted to show you this, and this is why we need protection in housing.
In spite of the fact
we've
that
said it
there's
before
no income.
a million times, but I live in Arizona, where we had a massive housing boom in 2016. I bought a home for $350,000. By the end of the pandemic, that house was worth more than $1 million, and that's cool for me. But it's not cool for everybody else who got priced out of a home very, very quickly in that same neighborhood. And the reason for this increase in price was the amount of people who were out purchasing homes. The Fed kept interest rates low way too long. Money was cheap. People were bored. And during COVID, people with money or people who wanted to invest went out and they started buying up properties right and left. There was no property that they weren't willing to buy. And they were buying them even towards the end at exorbitant rates. My house is not worth over $1 million anymore. It's come down significantly. So there's a lot of people that could have bought at that time who have lost a substantial amount of money. And a lot of people were just convinced that, just like in 2008, that the housing market would go up and up and up and up and up and up forever. And now we're in a situation where there's a lot of people sitting on property that they can't afford and they can't rent out or they can't make livable. This was from the Wall Street Journal, the $140 million real estate company that trapped thousands of investors. And this is why we need more protections. And this is why I think that the DSA saying making housing a right and getting people access to being able to own a home, or at least live in a structure that's collectively owned, is a pretty good idea. Again, I want to know how they plan on doing it. I don't think any of these DSA candidates are making this a priority in their platform. I think this is down the road, but this is why we need it. She doesn't get any help. It is the Wall Street Journal that is here. A landlord can just leave you in shitty conditions. Not a lot you don't have a lot of rights, especially in red states. Especially in red states, you have no rights. They are like, oh, you can live somewhere else. Or why is it that we do this? Why is it that we tell people they can invest in real estate? And they say, and they get all the upside, and we're like, well, they took a risk. But then we try so hard to eliminate all of their risks. If you buy a dilapidated property with a lot of issues, you bought it for a cheap price. You should probably have the money to fix it. And you should understand that it's going to cost, just like if I'm a homeowner and I buy a dilapidated property, I should expect that I'm going to consistently have repairs. But then we don't. Then we just tell these big purchasing groups like, that's all right. Don't worry about it. So they got to call in the wall that people like the profit shouldn't be protected over the people that live there. Profit shouldn't be above human life. If it's a risk to invest in a property, but then your profit is protected, then it's not really much of a risk, right? And that's just the rich getting richer with no protections from poor people. And then the rich get richer; they keep buying more and more properties. Then poor people or middle class people can't even afford a property. Now the rich own everything, and they have all the rights. And they tell you, sorry, you're fucked. What are you gonna do? Live here? Go somewhere else? We don't give a shit. You get what you get, and you people specifically who didn't have high net worth. They don't really understand these contracts. They like many people. We always we assume sometimes incorrectly that because somebody is wealthy, they know how to take care of their money. Maybe they do. It looks like they know how to take care of their money. And the way that they take care of their money is by using your money. These people were targeted for a reason. It's much more difficult to collect a bunch of individual small investments than it is to find one big investor. For some reason, big investors didn't want to work with them. So then they get this idea like, where are we going to get some money? Wow, we go after small investors. Well, how are we going to sell that to them? It's a risky business. It's crypto and housing together. Well, we'll just tell them it's for them. Like, we have this mission to help people leave something for their kids or help people create generational wealth. Then we'll write into the contract that we're the last money in, first money out. And that's what these contracts are. Now they're just going just like Trump with his crypto, his two meme coins. They're going to make their money off the backs of the suckers. Who are the suckers? Generally, people who don't have insider information. Generally, those who aren't the rich and the connected.
Right. Tell me about the community and how you would characterize
They were targeted because of their low IQ. I think you're thinking of MAGA vote. Why we keep calling Donald Trump a fascist? Because he attacks free speech. Emoy. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, fascists don't like free speech. That's why Trump keeps attacking it. The Constitution is protecting free speech, and Trump keeps getting ruled against in court. Trump is a fascist. He just hasn't won yet. You can be a fascist without the country being fascist. That's why we say Trump is a fascist, not we're a fascist country. He's trying his best. But yeah, they silence speech all the time. They keep getting overturned in the courts. Then we just think Republicans that they should have no protections, that tenants should have no protections. That when they call for repairs, which are guaranteed, and they don't get the repairs, that then they should just shut up and get evicted, go somewhere else. This feels like something everybody, like if we weren't Republican, Democrat, whatever, like this feels like something everybody would agree with. Just put yourself in her shoes. Are you telling me that if you signed a lease and the repairs were every state has laws of how quickly these repairs need to be done, specifically if they're repairs that are endangering people. We shouldn't expand these protections. We shouldn't work hard to make sure that tenants have these protections. We have to wait for the Wall Street Journal to come out.
To evict
you have to expect these people that are tenants to know the law, to hire an attorney. This is why the part of the DSA platform that I loved is that there is guaranteed representation for tenants. Should be a public service. That if you're renting from a private owner, that you should then have representation. You shouldn't have to pay to go get a lawyer that you can't afford. There's so many people that what are they going to do? Lawyers, I mean, I'm paying a lawyer right now. It costs me $250 an hour to pay my attorney. Every time my attorney does an hour's worth of work, $250, I bust my ass to make sure that the only things that attorney has to do are things that only he can do so I can save money. And I'm fortunate in that way. But there's a lot of people that can't afford that. And we're just telling them, sorry, you're shit out of luck. Live in your shitty house with your unsafe conditions. Can't afford to move. If you move, you might break the lease. You get evicted. Great. Now you have, 3 days to get out? Got to find a new place to move. Got to pay a security deposit, first and last month's rent. Got to pay to have somebody help you move. What if you don't have a car? Why are we so against protections for people against predatory landlords or predatory business owners? Why do we have so many people that just want to fuck over poor people? And 250 an hour is low. Yeah, it is for Trump, but you can't understand how I like the other side. I don't. I don't like the Democrats. I don't like either party, but there are Democrats that I like. There are Democrats that I think are doing good work, and I like them. Why are you comparing one person against an entire side? And how long have you been here? How many more days in a row do I have to criticize Democrats and point out that for most of the Democrats I can't fucking stand before any of you stop playing both sides? Could we just have could we be like that one stream where we're not playing Democrats versus Republicans? I could give a fuck about the Democrats. I do not like them. I'm not a fan of the Democratic senators I have in my state. I'm not a huge fan of Mark Kelly. I'm not a huge fan of Ruben Gallego. I'm not a huge fan of Katie Hobbs. I think that they capitulate on a lot of shit that they shouldn't capitulate to. I'm not a fan of the Democrats. They have record low approval for a reason. Literally nobody likes them. I think that maybe the disconnect is Donald Trump is treated differently than any politician that I can remember. Like Obama was kind of close, but not even in the same way. Like Obama was likable. A lot of people really liked Obama. But Donald Trump is treated with absolute fucking kid gloves from you, worse than kid gloves from you. You all act like you're terrified of him. The way that you tap dance around any criticism of Donald Trump is one of the most pathetic and emasculating things I've ever seen in my life. You guys are you're terrified of this geriatric dumb fuck. He hasn't completed a sentence in 10 fucking years. He hasn't completed a thought in 10 years. He literally has accomplished absolutely fuck all on his agenda, and you don't care. He stands up in front of you and lies to your faces every single day. And your only way to combat that is to be like, what about your side? And then you have to compare Donald Trump to literally every other person on the left and individual circumstances. The people that I support in politics are substantially better than Donald Trump. Substantially better people, substantially better leaders, substantially better executives, substantially better legislators, substantially smarter. But can we stop pretending this is Dems versus Republicans? It's fascism and Donald Trump, the authoritarian, versus, in my case, people like Bernie Sanders, AOC, Saeed, Mamdani, Elizabeth Warren. Those are the people that I like. And I know those are the people that you hate the most, which is ironic because those are the smartest ones with the best ideas. So it's no wonder that you're told to hate them and you just all every day. Donald Trump is the most thin-skinned, bitch-ass man I've ever seen in my life. Donald Trump doesn't take shit. He cries all fucking day. He's the most powerful person in the world, and he spends most of his day on Twitter complaining about how things are unfair. You cucky little pussies. You cucky fucking little pussies. He's so tough. He's a bitch. He is the biggest bitch that we've ever had sit in office. All he does is cry. That's it. What do you mean he doesn't take shit? He internalizes everything. He takes everything personally. He's such a fucking crybaby. None of you would ever want your kid to grow up and be like Donald Trump. We're talking about this is about housing. This is why we call you guys. This is why we say you're in a cult. There's a video that's not talking about Trump playing right now about a real estate company not associated with Trump that trapped thousands of investors and caused not only the investors to lose their money, but the property managers and the people they were purchasing things from. And you came in here and you said, stop focusing on Trump. We're not. The only reason Trump's even coming up is because you guys won't stop talking about Trump in the chat, and then we respond to you. If you just stopped licking his taint for a second and cared about anything other than blindly defending that orange turd, we could talk about something besides Trump.
For January.
From better protections and just handing property to, sorry, let me scroll up there. And just handing property to people, what would be your solution? That's not my solution. You need to have better protections for sure. You need to have I think that if you're going to invest in properties, there should be certain capital requirements that you have to meet. And those capital requirements also come with restrictions. The capital requirements should say that you have enough to fix the property and that you will have enough to maintain the property. So that's going to compare the rent that you plan to charge, your current capital, and if you can maintain that property. And if you don't maintain that property, you should be heavily fined for not maintaining that property. And it's a process that will take time. Like, there's no overnight solution to this. But what needs to happen first is that you have to get rid of predatory landlords. And in some places, in some states, this may require, and I don't like this on a federal level, it's one of the places I disagree with the DSA, is that on a state level or a local level, that might mean that the state or a local community needs to invest in some public housing. And that housing can be owned by the public as a whole. If you decide that you want to make a profit on that housing, that revenue should go back into the city coffers to either fund other programs or to pay the city back for lending that money. I don't think there is a universal solution for this, but deregulation is, especially in a heavily deregulated society where we are now, is not the answer. Like, deregulation doesn't fix any of this. You need sensible regulation, and I think that there's a good argument that conservatives make that there's so much regulation on the books that it's convoluted. That's true. But there should be an audit on our regulatory framework. My dad was a general contractor. And one of the parts of his job that he hated the most, and he had to pay somebody to do, is like constantly sifting through the ever-changing regulatory framework. And what they don't often do when they pass the regulatory framework is go back and remove laws that might be in contradiction of the laws that they passed currently, or laws that are just completely outdated. And then that leads to inspectors who can be corrupted, or inspectors who just fucking suck. And then you're tied up in litigation. So there is. It's not to say that the government handles these things perfectly. It's not to say that regulation isn't problematic for contractors. That's how I grew up. I actually, for a little while, I worked in this industry, and I didn't like it. If we're being honest, I worked in rehabbing homes. I didn't like it. I thought that there were a lot of corners that were cut. Basically, everybody in my industry was like, buy a dilapidated house, fix all the holes in the wall, paint everything white. Don't replace the cabinets, just paint everything white. Then it looks nice, and then sell it at a massive profit, and as much as you possibly can. And that was mostly in Utah County, where people have been completely priced out of their homes. So there's not necessarily a one-size-fits-all solution to all of this. Where it starts is recognizing what the problem is. And this particular problem is that it's very easy for somebody to create a crypto/real estate somehow combined Ponzi scheme. And it legitimately took journalists uncovering this to try and shut it down. The regulatory bodies didn't catch this. Somehow the Wall Street Journal caught it before, and this has been going on for years. The regulatory bodies didn't catch it. The complaints to the city didn't catch it. It had to be the Wall Street Journal using their platform to make people aware of it.
To sue us.
Real Token accused Doug and his partner of stealing $400,000 in rent.
See, Melanie said Teddy Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt, and Eisenhower pushed for nationalized medicine. The racism from the conservatives stopped it every time solely because of racism. But I don't know if it's solely, but yeah, certainly. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah. Look, the effects were racist. I'll say that. I can't always speak to the heart of what people wanted, but the effects were a fucking Ponzi scheme.
Well, that's overwhelming push and flow.
That's why. All right. That's why I think that the DSA platform is resonating with people, and the Red Scare isn't working with people. I don't think anybody's worried about the Red Scare. I think that's a misguided Republican talking point that isn't going to work. It doesn't seem to be. Every bit of polling, every single election, every time you guys highlight the DSA, every time you try and talk about the DSA being communist, they get more and more popular. You should recognize this in history. History can repeat itself, and you should recognize this in history. When people tried to say stuff about Trump, it turned you guys more hardened towards him. I'd be careful in the way that you handle this stuff. If I were you, if you're afraid of socialism. All right, I want to talk about another thing that Republicans are great at, perhaps the thing that they are the best at, and that is defending predators. Senator Bernie Moreno, who is an absolute dog shit person, now whose daughter, who's leveled allegations of domestic and child abuse against her former husband, Representative Max Miller, argued that Miller should not serve in the House and should seek professional help. If there are any basic standards of character required to hold office, Max Miller fails them, Moreno posted on Sunday. He should not serve in the House of Representatives. This is a person who has allegedly held a gun to his wife's head while she was changing her child. Allegations that they thought that they hurt the child's collarbone. I don't know if it was broken. That poured hot water on their wife. Moreno's statement came after Miller, in a Sunday live stream, defended himself against allegations from Moreno's daughter, Emily, following their contentious divorce. Miller married Emily Moreno in 2022, had a daughter with her in 23, and filed for divorce in 2024, which was finalized last year. The Ohio senator, however, had largely refrained from commenting publicly on the matter on his former son-in-law's re-election campaign amid the fallout. But in his statement, Moreno said that while he had hoped to keep the matter private for the safety of his family, Miller's increasingly erratic and dangerous behavior has made that impossible. It has been horrific to watch this play out in full public view, all while knowing an innocent 2-year-old girl is caught in the middle. Moreno also said he believes Miller needs professional help to end the clear pattern of abuse he has left in his wake. How many more? How many more abusers? Miller's video is gross. And I'm not even going to play it, to be honest. What I do want to play here, I forgot to save it. This isn't the first time that Miller, I said Moreno's video, Miller's video. Let me, what's her name? Let me pull this video up. I forgot to save it. This isn't the first time that Miller has been accused. Former press secretary Stephanie Grisham told Melania and Donald Trump about this when she was working for the Trump administration.
Of yourself, but also behavior of an inappropriate nature when it comes to a young press aide.
Yes.
That the president.
I love that. Yeah, you divorce a person and they tend to hold a grudge about shit. You're a fucking idiot. Yeah, she divorced him and it seems like he's holding a grudge now. I agree with you. Thank you for bringing that up. Seems to be holding a grudge against her.
Had a liking for, as you describe it. And he would
Sorry about this video.
Summon her, you write,
yes,
into his cabin on Air Force One, and you said that you made sure to always accompany her.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about that? And are you sure that you were able to protect her? Because we should note, and you talk about this, you didn't report this to anyone.
Yeah. I've said this.
Sorry, this was the wrong one. I apologize. Sorry. Maybe it was on YouTube. Yeah, I think it was in this video.
I know Max. He's a good person. I mean, I always thought he was a very good person. And
Jim Jordan's never met an abuser he didn't like. He loves them. Those are his favorite people.
Let the families figure that out. But it's accusations, and I'm going to let them figure that out.
President Trump publicly standing by embattled Republican Congressman Max Miller, even as his former press secretary launches a new legal battle against Miller. So on Monday, Stephanie Grisham's lawyer filed for a temporary restraining order against Miller. Now, she's suing him for breaking the terms of a non-disclosure agreement, an agreement that stems from 2021. In a Washington Post op-ed, Grisham had written about abuse allegations dealing with an ex-boyfriend, and Miller sued her at the time, but they settled out of court and agreed not to disparage each other publicly. Grisham now claims Miller violated the deal in this interview back in June.
Without question, every allegation should be taken seriously. What should be noted is that allegation came out on the same day as somebody's book launch. And the other part what I would like to discuss is my ex-wife was with me every single day during that time of my life and that election. And she, in her own words, will tell you.
There's a 0% chance that's true. You know how I know that's not true? Because there's videos of him out campaigning when his wife wasn't there. They fact-checked this. And if that was true, what's he settling with Grisham for?
you that I never did any of those things, and she never saw evidence of me ever doing those things, and that was nothing more than somebody trying to get notoriety.
Joining the group chat, Harry Lee, political correspondent at Spectrum News.
Listen, that's stupid. Nobody knew who Max Miller was. She worked for the president. She was Melania's friend. He's saying that for notoriety, she's already notorious. Accusing you didn't give her notoriety. It gave you notoriety. You'd be like, wait, who the fuck is Max Miller?
She conducted that interview with Congressman Miller. This is a fascinating conversation that you got to have with him. Before we get to the allegations within his family and ex-wife, can you talk about this issue with Stephanie Grisham, why they are all of a sudden back in court?
Well, they're back in court partly because of that interview. And
It's ironic that you say accusations. You sure are winning, bro. It is interesting, Joseph, that you view this in terms of winning and losing. It is interesting that you have multiple women and a child being abused, or even if just the accusations of being abused. And your take on this is political, winning and losing. And that's why we have this problem. Is that women will never be heard by people like you. Victims will never be heard by people like you because you look at this in terms of winning and losing a political battle. And I think that is one of the most disgusting positions you could take.
Our non-disclosure agreement back in 2021, it appears this was a confidential agreement, so we didn't know until she filed this suit. But it appears that they agreed not to disparage each other. And she's saying that in that interview, by denying the claims that she made as well as the claims by his now ex-wife, that he broke that agreement. And as you know, yesterday she also filed a restraining order.
Right, because he's basically saying there are not multiple allegations, right? He doesn't want this to sound like it's piling up. And so he reached back to this conversation and she's like, no, keep me out of it.
Yes.
All right, so let's talk about the Moreno family. The senator, Bernie Moreno, has been obviously like very upset and frustrated. He has called.
That's a great point, Noodle Poodle. Max Miller hasn't. Did she? That's true. You all know who have been around people who have been abused. There is a relationship often with the abuser. Sometimes the abuse isn't recognized in real time. Sometimes it's excused in real time. Sometimes it takes a clean break. Sometimes it takes a divorce before somebody is willing to actually state all the abuse. People hide abuse all the time.
For Miller to step down, saying he shouldn't be in Congress anymore. Joining him, Senator Shelley Moore Capito and Roger Marshall. Are we going to see any other senators speak up?
I think Rick Scott might have said something to that effect. Yeah,
I bring this up because of politics. Then why did I bring up Graham Plattner, Joseph? Can you explain to me why I spent probably an hour and a half on Graham Plattner? I've spent very little time on this. Graham Plattner is somebody who, like, politically aligns with me. That sucked. I liked Graham Plattner's platform. I spent a ton of time on Graham Plattner. Anytime a Democrat, I spent a ton of time on what's the guy in California's name? Swalwell. Was that political? Those people would have been seen as on my side of the aisle, and I spent far more time on both of those accusations than I did on Max Miller. Why? Because I think my voice actually matters when it's somebody from my side a lot more. Like, I think it's important for people on that I agree with. I think it's important for me to hold that same standard and more loudly, because again, it's something that I feel like I'm a part of, and I want to distance myself from that. You seem to not have that. You seem to not ever want to distance yourself from abusers. Your party seems to embrace these abusers. Who have you run out for being abusive? Can you name anybody? Can you name one person in your party that you have run out for abusing people? You didn't run out Matt Gaetz. He was having sex with a 17-year-old. They buried it. Didn't run out Donald Trump. You're not running out Corey Mills. Didn't run out Jim Jordan. Name one person that you have run out of the MAGA movement for being abusive towards women or children. Hurry, give me a name. When you ever criticize somebody on your side, you can talk. But like I'm heavily critical of all abuse.
When does it reach the House?
Why would you care about my accusations? These aren't my accusations, dipshit. These are his wife and his kid. Why would you care? You wouldn't. But if it was Graham Plattner, you would care. If it was a Democrat, you would care. Because again, this is how the two-party system has broken us. It's created awful people like you. I promise you the Republicans that, like, general Republicans think you're fucking sick. Everyday Republicans think you're fucking sick. Republicans are speaking out now against Max Miller. Not many, but a handful. The only, like, this is what like constitutes some backbone is Shelley Capito, Roger Marshall, and Bernie Moreno are like, yeah, we should probably not have somebody running for office that has these types of allegations. They should sort these things out. Even if you don't want to say they're guilty. Same with Graham Plattner. I said specifically, I believe these women. And Graham Plattner, if he thinks he's innocent, he should go sort that out, but not on the government's dime. Not while I'm supporting him. Like, if you have these allegations, sorry, go take care of that. If you wind up being innocent, come back and run again. Not Republicans, because it's about the game.
People who actually work with this guy.
I think it's getting to that point now. We're seeing signals coming out of the White House where at least Trump is apparently privately saying that he doesn't think Max Miller can win re-election. That seems like the beginnings of kind of a subtle pressure campaign to convince this person to at least step aside from his re-election campaign. And there's a very good reason for that, you know, even besides from...
Joseph, you can't talk about Plattner because you don't care about this stuff, remember? You don't care about allegations, so shut the fuck up. Okay? You don't get to talk about Graham Plattner at all. You don't get to talk about anything. You don't care about allegations. Next thing you say about any of these people, muted for 5 minutes. If you don't care, hold that standard. You don't care. Cry about it in the chat and say, I want to move on and not talk about allegations. You don't get to play, like, you're doing the thing we just said you would do. This is why people think you're gross.
Kind of the details of the allegations. This is a district that Republicans would worry about losing if Max Miller is on the ballot in November. Yeah. That's the same with some of these other congressmen, which we're talking about.
But now we're talking about family. So, for instance, Senator Moreno, like I said, he put out a statement where he says, as he admitted privately, Max Miller needs serious...
24 hours for Joseph. Thanks.
Psychological help. He's a danger to my daughter. I hold my breath every minute he has custody of my granddaughter. And then also this audio obtained from earlier this year. Emily Moreno is telling police about an incident on New Year's Eve where she alleged that Miller held a gun to her head when she was changing their infant daughter. So just give you a moment to listen to this.
So when does the gun come into play?
When I'm changing.
And what does he do?
Holds it on me.
Holds it on you? Okay. Can you show me where he held it to you? No. Hey, it's okay. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Like I said, that's a hard thing to talk about.
Has he said anything about this incident or others? Because I know he released his own Dropbox of audio, so he does want people to kind of hear his side as he's denying these allegations.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the problem, is that he keeps releasing more and more information and more evidence that can then be used against him in certain cases. He does deny that this incident even happened.
What does he say about his father-in-law? Has he talked about what's going on publicly?
So for a long time, he said that they could work together. He said that he could walk and chew gum at the same time. But after a while, he was saying...
Which is also crazy. That's crazy to be like, yeah, I can absolutely work with somebody who abused my daughter, for sure. This shit's hitting a little close to home because of the situation that I'm dealing with my daughter. And people like Joseph, people like these MAGA people who cover for predators, cover for people who wear that cross around their neck. Someday I'll bring that up. Someday this will be more public. And to the person in my life who I know you're listening, and I know you're recording, your Christianity and your job as a first responder doesn't protect you from people like me who don't give up. But Republicans, you're gross. If you're defending this, you're gross. You are the reason that we are afraid to send our kids with you. The biggest threat to my daughter is a white Christian conservative. MAGA. flat earther. You are the danger. And you need to teach your kids that. My daughter will know that. I hope your daughters know that. If you MAGA folks are raising sons, I hope you know that you're raising sons who will be rejected by society. They will be rejected by women, and they will get angry, and they will blame women, and it will be your fault. It will be your fault because you have no respect for women, because you would rather win politics. And by the way, a political game that is absolutely just fucking you up. A political game that you are losing. Like, when you win, you lose. Every time more MAGA Republicans get in office, things get worse. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. Like, yay, more of us. Things are getting worse. Yay! At least it's not the Dems. Women, don't date conservatives. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter the red flags. Doesn't matter the green flags. Christian conservative men, statistically, are the most threatening person to you and your children. I highly recommend not dating Christian conservative men.
That his father-in-law was helping his daughter, enabling her in what he said was lying. And so that is when he started taking to social media.
You can call me stupid all you want. Refute it. Refute the evidence. You know who else says that? Tim Tebow. Christian conservative Tim Tebow says the most dangerous person to your child is a Christian conservative man. White Christian conservative man. Take it up with the data. I don't know what to tell you. Bro said sending hugs and positive vibes to you. Thank you. Sorry. I got a little personal there.
To criticize him. Bernie Moreno didn't say anything for a very long time. His team consistently said no comment until Sunday. And that is when he released that scathing post on X.
So Miller's ex-wife, as you noted, is not the only woman to accuse him of abuse. Former White House Press Secretary Stephanie Grisham, Trump's first-term press secretary, was also Miller's ex-girlfriend. She detailed an abusive relationship with an unnamed White House staffer in her memoir.
If you look at the pics of the MAGA boomers in here, you would tell your kids to stay away from them. Yeah.
Later, that was identified as Max Miller. Miller also denies these allegations. Stephanie Grisham was on the lead in 2021 talking about that relationship. Take a listen.
I had an ex that I dated, and there was abuse in every way there. And that's something I actually told the president and the first lady about. And they did nothing.
The person you're talking about, you don't name him in the book, but his name is Max Miller. He is running for Congress, and it's not just that President Trump, then President Trump, didn't do anything about it. Trump is now backing this guy for Congress.
I'm not going to lie, it was like a gut punch when I saw that he endorsed him.
Now, in response to Grisham's book, then Trump said that Grisham shouldn't be taken seriously because she was, quote, very angry and bitter after the breakup. So the idea that President Trump is standing by a guy accused of some horrific behavior, abusive behavior, is not new.
No, it's not new. We've seen a long pattern of this with Trump, and Trump often feels that he's the victim and subject of false allegations and so
Look how many men in here feel like they're the victims right now. Someone just threatened to report my stream. For what? I'm sorry. Did we hurt your feelings? Look how many dipshit men just immediately became victims. Right now, the real victims are children and women who are abused by white Christian conservative men. And white Christian conservative men turned themselves into the victims here. Just like Donald Trump does. You learn from the master. It's always somebody. You're the victim. Yeah, children are being abused. Women are being abused. But you're actually the victim because you refuse to disavow your association with abusers. You don't want to be associated with abusers? Stop voting for them. Stop defending him. Stop making statements in the chat like you know that this person is lying. Stop siding with the abusers every fucking time. But mostly, stop being victims, you spineless bitches.
But I watched that video and one, bad communications politically 101. Yeah. He looked like somebody on an episode of SVU where you're like, oh, he definitely did it. This is not how you want to communicate to your constituents. It's why the best thing to do would be to drop him now so you can replace him.
Bill Clinton? Fuck Bill Clinton. White, Christian, conservative man. Yep. Fuck Bill Clinton. I agree. It's interesting though, right? Like you're very okay with calling Bill Clinton a predator, which I agree with you, but you can't call Trump one. Which one of them went? Which one of them had a judge and a jury say they were a predator? Was that Clinton or Trump? It was Trump, but he's innocent, right? I hold the same standard. Fuck Bill Clinton.
And ultimately, as Republicans, we stood really tall against Graham Plattner on all the awful things that have been alleged about him. And he, thank God, yeah, and they got out. Let's do the right thing on our side now at this point.
Joining me now, Democratic strategist Julie Roginski. She's also the author of the Substack column, Salty Politics. Julie, thank you for being here. I mean, the latest report.
Thanks, Jay Hara.
Is that Trump told Miller privately that his reelection is not going to be easy. But you heard his comments today where he called Miller a very good person and refused to get involved. What does that tell you?
Well, it tells me that Donald Trump couldn't care less about women. We've known that all along. We've certainly known that going back to the allegations against him over and over and over again. I think, in fact, he sees these kinds of allegations and automatically gets defensive and just believes the woman, or at least doesn't want to acknowledge that this is something that women should come forward and talk about. Look, this is not the first time that Max Miller has been alleged to be a domestic abuser. Stephanie Grisham, Donald Trump's former White House press secretary, publicly said that she told both the First Lady and President Trump during the first term that Max...
We had no choice. Yeah, we had no choice with Plattner because we have principles. You guys have choices. That's why. You have choices. You can keep the predators around because you don't care. The reason we had no choice with Plattner and no choice with Swalwell is because we consistently say that we protect victims. And then we do. And you say that you protect victims, and then you don't. One of us has a real principle that we stand behind. One of us does not. By the way, Marty says, the guy who created health insurance said himself it was a plot against black people. Happy birthday, Jen. I didn't know that. What's his name?
To her, and she said that they didn't really care. And I think that's probably one of the reasons that she ended up severing her ties to them.
Sorry, KJ, what do you want me to address? Sorry, there's a lot of people in the chat. What do you need me to address, KJ? I'll address it.
Look, how many times does the president need to hear from how many women that this man is not fit for office and that he's an abuser before he starts to take these concerns seriously? And while, of course, this is something that's between Emily Moreno and her ex-husband, it also has to do with who's fit or unfit for office. And this is not the first time the president has heard these kinds of allegations, and she is not the first woman from whom he's heard those kinds of allegations.
Now, Miller denies all the allegations.
Everybody's just lying, right? Like, all of them. I have no CED? CED? What does that mean?
Against him from every source. And I want to play you one moment from his statement yesterday it's been drawing a lot of criticism. Listen.
Only weeks later did the story of February 1st assault appear, so ask yourself, if I had assaulted her, would she have offered to cook me dinner 6 days later?
Look, I was a prosecutor for domestic violence cases, and I think it is so insulting to think that people could assume the behavior.
Melanie says, happy birthday, Jen. Thank you, Melanie.
Of somebody who is victimized.
Reminder, guys, it is Jen's birthday. Before we finish today, make sure you wish her a happy birthday.
His statement, particularly crass from my prosecutorial experience, but how do you feel about how he's been addressing the allegations?
I mean, that made my blood boil probably more than anything else. How many times have we heard stories about women?
You want me to address that Trump isn't always wrong as Clinton wasn't? Yeah, Trump's not always wrong. Thank you. I've never said that Trump's wrong about everything.
Who, for whatever reason, can't leave or are just in no position to leave, particularly if they're mothers, particularly if they share a child with their alleged abuser. How many times have we heard women, for one reason or another, stay after being abused, and then something happens, and sometimes they don't survive those situations? You know better than anybody else as a former prosecutor exactly what happens in those kinds of situations.
You want me to praise Trump for not always being wrong? That's what you wanted. That's what you stopped this show for? You want me to say Trump isn't always wrong? There you go. Cool.
Never been in that situation myself, but I certainly talked to enough survivors over the course of my nonprofit work to know that this is not atypical. So even if you take him at his word, that 6 days later she offered to cook him dinner, which is a very weird turn of phrase to begin with also. A little trad wifey there that he's putting her in that position. Look, you have the Republican senator from the state of Ohio, somebody who has zero interest in seeing a Democrat win the seat, break his silence after many, many, many days, for my opinion, waited a little too long to do that, finally say that he holds his breath when his granddaughter is in the presence of her father. And that's still not good enough for the President of the United States to listen to a senator of his own party, somebody who he supported and continues to support very strongly politically. Still, this isn't good enough. I mean, at some point, I think, look, I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. Democrats just went through something similar, although allegations not quite like this.
Thanks, Robin, for sending the Antifa dues.
But still, very bad allegations in Grand Platner in Maine. You have to stop and just think, this should not be a partisan issue. It doesn't matter if somebody has a D or an R after their name. And I said that about Grand Platner months ago and got a lot of into a lot of trouble from members of my own party for saying so. But I say this to my Republican friends, my God, look in the mirror. Surely there is somebody other than Max Miller who can run for the seat while there is still time. And surely, even if Max Miller decides to stay here, this is not somebody who's fit to be in office, even if he agrees with you on every political issue you stand for. There are things in life more important than politics. The safety of women, the safety of children should be chief among them. And for some reason, I don't understand why we're in a world right now where you have Republicans who just can't say that Max Miller needs to go, starting with the President of the United States.
Because then they would have to admit that Trump has to go. It's that simple. When the person at the top of your ticket is not held accountable for multiple instances of sexual abuse, then nobody can. Because if you hold them accountable, you have to hold him. It's the same reason that they turn a blind eye to crypto scams. It's the same reason they're turning a blind eye to all corruption in government right now. They have to. Because if you start talking about corruption, then all roads lead to Trump. If you start talking about abusing women, roads lead to Trump. If you talk about the Epstein file, roads lead to Trump. So you have to do anything but talk about those things. It really, really, really is that simple. Now, some of these men, no matter what, no matter the accusation, they are always going to side with the men. And I think that says a lot about you, and it probably says a lot about either things you've done in the past, things you plan to do in the future, or just your ability to handle stress in general. You lash out with violence, and the fact that you do it towards maybe women or children sometimes, you don't view as any different than doing it towards men, which is fine. If then your solution is don't do violence, but your solution seems to be like some amount of violence is okay. All right. Let's see, what time do we have? About 30 minutes left. Let's go. Yeah, let's talk about this. I want to talk about another protector of abused women in, good Lord, Todd Blanche. Now, this story makes me a little bit sick. Tom Tillis and John Cornyn both said that they were not going to push Todd Blanche's nomination through until he gave them some sort of solution in resolving the weaponization fund and the extraordinary gift given to the Trumps, making sure that they could not be prosecuted for tax crimes. What he gave them was a letter, one signed, one unsigned, saying, I'm not going to do this. The weaponization fund can be resurrected. The letter that he wrote saying that the Trumps won't be exonerated from future crimes, like that can all be changed. They got nothing. Tom Tillis and John Cornyn now are saying to a man who has lied to their faces repeatedly, all right, we're just going to trust you. I take back all the nice things I said about Tom Tillis and John Cornyn and having somewhat of a spine, because all it took was literally a public letter that will not hold up in any court for them to flip their vote. Here is Tom Tillis, though, explaining.
It's me, and I'm kind of curious about the speeches that come after here, is how everybody has this view of they are as pure as the driven snow, and it's the other side that has a problem. I think we both have a problem, folks. If you want to talk about weaponization, take a look at the Biden administration.
Let's do. Republicans, what was the weaponization of the Biden administration? Let's give some examples, because Tillis doesn't give any here. Kelly said $20 Antifa dues and 20 for Jen because she's the backbone of the show and very dear to us all. Happy birthday, Jen Dub. Agreed. Trudy said overachieving on Jen's birthday is required. Stephanie says, happy birthday, Jen. Enjoy your day. Lumpy Space Tim says, happy birthday, Jen. Loving the MAGA crash out in the chat today. All right. Where was the weaponization of the Biden administration? I'm giving you your chance now, Republicans. While this plays, give me some examples.
Take a look at the Obama administration. Take a look at Crossfire Hurricane. Take a look at the codes that Lois Lerner used in the IRS to target businesses to try and unbank them. Take a look at the prospective pardons on the way out the door that President Biden did for family members, for staff members in Congress. The bottom line is nobody is clean here. And until we start recognizing this behavior as bad, we're just going to one-up it. Maybe it's a little bit more intense in this administration than the last one, and that a little bit more intense than the prior administration, and so on and so forth.
Russia, Russia, Russia. That was during the Trump administration, dipshit. Trump was president when that happened. Try again.
But folks, we've got to end this stuff. We do. I'm going to support Mr. Blanche's nomination. But what I hope I see out of him is a bending of the curve of this absurdity.
All right. See how we asked him for examples? Not one, multiple judges. What'd you say there, John? Multiple judges, not even judges, but forthright people, conservatives, no more Democrats alive, no homeschool. Jesus Christ, what the fuck? I can't believe I just tried to read that gibberish. What the fuck was that? Here's John Cornyn. Here's what he had to say.
Behalf of the United States of America, that the weaponization fund.
It wasn't a question anymore.
And of course, I expect them to live up to that in any future.
They weaponized the Justice Department, you moron. They tried to ruin the military. They're trying to force girls through Rain's SEAL school joke.
Litigation. Given this agreement with Mr. Blanche, I expect the department to live up to this in future litigation, and I will vote to advance him out of the committee today.
Oh, well, if he's got hope, that's good news. He didn't give any examples. Those examples were not from the Biden administration. I asked from the Biden administration. You can't weaponize the Department of Justice by using a pardon. The Lois Lerner example he gave was during the Obama administration. He didn't give examples of the Biden administration weaponizing the Justice Department. That's why I'm asking you guys. Weird that you didn't know that, right? Sully said, happy birthday, Jen. Thanks, Sully.
But my vote to advance Mr. Blanche's nomination goes beyond this document.
You're acting like Biden didn't do any of this. It's all the same. No, I'm asking you for an example. You're acting like both sides are doing the same thing. Here's an example right now of the Justice Department creating a slush fund from a IRS tax dispute, and then creating a slush fund for people who attacked the Capitol, and then giving Trump's family immunity from prosecution on taxes. Now, what did Biden do?
We need a stabilizing force at the Department of Justice, and Mr. Blanche deserves the opportunity to provide that, as opposed to continuing to serve in an acting capacity and as the Deputy Attorney General.
Now, here's one frustrating thing. None of this fucking matters at all. Todd Blanche can remain in his role as acting Attorney General until the end of the Trump administration due to procedure. If he doesn't get pass through confirmation, he can stay in his acting role, I believe, for another 18 months. He's fine. He's going to be there no matter what. So they capitulated for nothing. All he gave them was a letter saying, I swear I won't do it. It's not binding. There's nothing binding to the agreement that he made here. And that's where the Democrats are rightly frustrated today. Here's White House, who was exceptionally upset and did a great job laying this all out. I've broken it into parts.
A sad and embarrassing day for this committee. As it looks like on a party line vote, we are going to advance out of this committee probably the most discreditable person ever to seek the office of Attorney General of the United States. The reasons to vote against him number in the hundreds. But let's just focus on a few where my Republican colleagues purport to have great concern.
Thank you, Amber, for sent money. Said happy birthday, Jen. And Tiffany said new audio out of Todd Blanche vowing to ban abortion in every state. We told you so from aloud. We told you so from most of us. I haven't heard that yet, Tiffany. Will you send that to me?
Let's start with the Epstein files, where Todd Blanche participated in the cover-up, continues to participate in the cover-up.
I don't understand your specific kind of stupid, but I do admire your level of commitment to it. First of all, that's a pretty good burn. Second of all, I'm not surprised that you don't understand what I'm saying. I'm not surprised by that. I'm asking for examples, and all of you are just saying I'm stupid. Could you give me an example? You're stupid. Yeah, but could I have an example? You're dumb. Could I have an example? Liberal tears. Could I have an example? You're dumb. Just one of you could give me an example, right?
And is responsible for a massive screw-up of the release of the documents. Cover-up and screw-up on the Epstein files. What do I mean by cover-up? Well, first, they looked at 4 FBI 302s that were the testimony of a woman who told the FBI in a formal statement that she had been sexually assaulted and physically assaulted by Donald Trump around 13 or 14 years of age. Of those 4 302s, they released 1, the one that did not mention Donald Trump. Well, fortunately for transparency, these documents had been released in other areas and bait stamped. So people figured out that some were missing. And with that, the other 302s that mentioned Donald Trump had to be produced. Only because they got caught were those 302s produced. And right now, as we sit here, Todd Blanche is still sitting on 37 pages that are almost certainly the agent's notes off of which the 302s were taken. That should be disclosed under the Epstein files law, but instead, those 37 pages remain covered up.
That alone should be disqualifying. How come none of you care about that? Why don't you care that he covered up the Epstein files? Why don't you care about this? Why don't you care about the treatment of Ghislaine Maxwell?
And then you get to Ghislaine Maxwell, where a deputy attorney general flew to Tallahassee to have a private meeting with a woman convicted of participating in Epstein's depravity. And what was the upshot of that meeting? Was it to get more information about who else was culpable, about whose secrets were still being kept? No. It was to get exculpatory information about Donald.
You cared about Epstein before the leftists. Yeah, but now you don't care, Jim Bob. Fine, you cared. You cared about Epstein before me. You probably did, but now you don't. So what's your excuse for why you don't? Why did you stop caring about it, Jim Bob? I'll stop this real quick. Why don't you care now? Great. We didn't care until it was politically expedient. Why don't you care now? Jim Bob, if you don't answer this, you're banned for the rest of the day. Mods, will you watch for Jim Bob? Jim Bob needs to explain to us why he doesn't care now, or he's banned for the rest of the day.
Trump, and then reward her with a move to a club-fed prison. Now, the nominal excuse for that is, oh, she was in danger in her earlier
All right, Jim Bob, see you later.
prison.
I asked why you don't care. The question I asked Jim Bob was, why don't you care? If you care, do you think, all right, Jim Bob, I'll give you a chance then. Do you think that Todd Blanche should be the Attorney General then? Answer that.
So we had to move her. How often does a prisoner allegedly facing threats or danger get moved to a less secure facility? I mean, think about it.
Convinced more than ever that Maxwell will get pardoned on the way out. Why wouldn't he? And that's the criticism that is fair for Biden. Like, Biden set a precedent of these blanket pardons. He should not have done that. He shouldn't have given Fauci a pardon. He shouldn't have given his family a pardon. A lot of us feel like, yeah, we get it. Like, we might have done that for our family too and our friends, but it set a precedent that I don't like. Trump can just on his way out pardon his whole family, all his friends, and then what?
It doesn't.
What do you mean he didn't set a precedent? How's that not a precedent, Wes Cranberry? Who else pardoned their family on the way out with preemptive pardons? It's a precedent. I'm not saying that his family and Trump's family are the same, but that's. Am I unaware? Or were there other? Maybe I'm wrong. Were there other presidents that pardoned their family on the way out?
Pass the test of common sense. So
what is your, because he's covering up the Epstein files. That's why, Jim Bob. That's why I'm asking your opinion. Todd Blanche covered up the Epstein files. He gave a sweetheart deal to Ghislaine Maxwell. He refused to meet with the Epstein survivors. They now are saying that he dismisses them and he won't investigate anything. So that's why I'm wondering, do you think somebody like that should be the Attorney General?
Between the botched disclosure, which revealed victims of Epstein's depravity, whose names had not been previously known, in some cases with photographic images with their addresses, in some
that's fair, Monica. Depends if you count Charles Kushner in 2020. That's fair. But that wasn't preemptive, right? That was a pardon of crimes he had already committed. So it's a little different.
cases, photographs without being fully clothed. Where does the buck stop for that, if not with Mr. Blanche? That was an epic botch that did real harm to Epstein's victims. Voting for this guy today gives their blessing to the screw up, to the botched release that even Pam Bondi pointed at Blanche as responsible.
Clinton pardoned his half brother. I don't know. Maybe.
For.
I'm with you there, Monica, too. I just don't think presidents should have pardon power. I think that's silly. I have no idea why we have pardons.
And it gives the blessing to his continuing role in the cover-up of Epstein files.
All right. A little bit longer. We do have a hard cutoff today, so let me make sure I get through all these. Now let's get to the slush fund and the tax amnesty scam. And this is the real crux of this argument. John Cornyn and Tom Tillis allowed a wink and a nod, a handshake deal. Yeah, we'll I'll write this letter. I promise I won't do it. Okay. It's not legally binding. I promise I won't do it. And that was enough for them to be like, okay, go ahead, Todd Blanche.
And let me ask the letter from the Epstein victims to Senators Tillis and Cornyn to be put into the record. So next we get to this crooked slush fund Trump family tax amnesty scam. Let's take a look at that. We've got these two new pieces of paper, one signed only by Todd Blanche, one not signed by anybody, neither of which has any legal effect whatsoever.
White House is a trained attorney and former attorney general. I also fact-checked. He's correct about this.
They are decorative. So what problems do they leave behind? Well, one is, can you trust Todd Blanche going forward? I will tell you, I do not. I think it would be unreasonable to trust him going forward. There is enough weasel room in these documents to drive a truck through. And what might that truck look like? Well, you could get rid of the anti-weaponization fund for $1.776 billion, and in a month, put out the Trump Justice Fund for $1.9 billion. Nothing in this document prevents anything like that from happening. You could open a drive-up window at the Department of Justice for cop beaters from January 6th to come through and get friendly Federal Tort Claims Act settlements from the Department of Justice. They're already handing out settlements to Trump's allies. What's to prevent the drive-up window? Come on in. Here we are. We got the friendly form for you to file, and here's a check. Nothing prevents the cop beaters from being funded by the Trump Department of Justice.
Trump is on the record now saying like he's going to, like, if Blanche isn't pushed through, that he's just going to relaunch that fund. If Blanche is pushed through, what's stopping Trump from relaunching that fund? You can't take away the confirmation at this point. That's all it takes for these Republicans. I swear I won't do more bad stuff. I know I've done a lot of bad stuff, but I promise not to do it again. Okay, you can be the Attorney General.
But let's assume that we really have made a big improvement here. Let's assume that the burglar has been forced to give back some of the jewelry he stole. Being forced to give back some ill-gotten gains.
Soup said, who would be responsible for innocent people doing federal time in reference to pardons? Yeah, I think what Monica said is like it should be a committee. I just don't think that the pardon power should rest solely with the president. I do think pardons should exist. I just don't think they should exist as a power granted to the president.
Doesn't mean you're not still a burglar. There's a question of the man's character, that he was willing to get into these schemes in the first place.
All right. And then I think this is the last one. Oh yeah, here's the last one, and then we'll call it a day. Here's the last one, just in regards to how many unanswered questions Todd Blanche has left us with. The amount of fraud. I mean, we don't have answers to Trump's dinner, his crypto dinner. We don't have any answers on that. We don't have any answers on why he's been allowed to funnel billions of dollars into his to World Liberty Financial and his crypto scam coins. No answer on that. We have no answer on anything. We have no answer on why Ghislaine Maxwell got moved. We have no answer on why they're covering up the Epstein files. We have no answer as to why they took resources away from the FBI and the investigative bodies and instead used that to try and cover for Donald Trump. We don't have answers. Todd Blanche and Pam Bondi have refused to answer questions. You want to slow walk into authoritarianism? Go for it. You're doing it. But the people here that are arguing are sitting by while your party does fuck all. They just say, let Trump do what he wants. We don't want answers. We just want Trump to be in power, and that's it.
The last question that I'm left with here is what's left of this committee? What's left of this committee when we don't demand straight answers from witnesses?
Last thing, didn't care about the files under Biden. Sean, neither did Republicans. Not one single Republican brought a discharge petition to release the Epstein files. It's a stupid talking point, and you don't care about it now. So shut the fuck up. You acted like you cared until your people started covering it up. If this was me, and this was the Biden administration they were covering up, everybody that has followed me knows goddamn well that I would be trashing the Biden administration. Everybody here knows that's followed me for a long time. There is nothing that a Democrat has done that's corrupt that I have defended. Not one thing. Feel free to give me an example, but everybody here that has been around knows goddamn well that at least I think this audience would have criticized that. You don't. We are not the same.
How many times has this Department of Justice been asked, what became of the $50,000 that the FBI reported that it handed to Mr. Homan in a bribery sting? That's administrative stuff. That gets reported. There's an account. You've got to check the money out. If you get the money back, you've got to check the money back. There's an administrative trail. We can't get any information about that. Our Republican colleagues see no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil. Kash Patel virtually certainly lied to this committee sitting in front of us. Is there any...
That's an interesting comment there. Let's see that. What did you say? Lloyd said, I'm an old white guy in Texas, a Christian and Republican, but I cannot and will not support this abomination of Trump, his vice president, or his totally unqualified minions in his cabinet. I appreciate that. Appreciate you saying that. It gives, I like when I meet Republicans like that. You and I disagree probably on almost everything, but if you can disavow corruption, and we're on the same team.
Interest in that? At a time when Republicans in Congress seem agitated about Biden officials lying to Congress? We got lies right here, folks. I don't know where this committee goes after it stops being taken seriously, because all you have to be is on the right partisan side to get this committee to roll over and play dead. Thank you, Chairman.
Senator Klobuchar.
Well done, White House. He shares the frustration that I think many of us have, and that's it. God, what a fucking shitty news cycle we have currently. I think perhaps today more than ever, the sign off is going to be appropriate. But before we go, Jen, any last words, birthday girl?
No words.
Okay, enjoy your birthday. I won't call you and sing. I promise.
All right, sweet. Appreciate it.
Thanks for being here on your birthday, everybody. If you're in the Discord, don't be afraid to message Jen happy birthday. She loves being inundated with well wishes. She loves that stuff more than anything. Compliments too. Give her lots of compliments.
It wouldn't be a day if you weren't saying some random bullshit about me. So.
Happy birthday. All right, everybody. That's it for me. That's it for Jen. We will see you tomorrow morning and every weekday morning, bright and early, 9:30 a.m. to 1 Pacific Standard Time, right here, wherever you're watching. Just a reminder, tomorrow we have a members-only event. We'll be watching that new, it's Donnie O'Sullivan's documentary that is dropping on CNN tomorrow. So make sure that if you want to join us for that, you, one, are a paid subscriber, and two, that you are a member of the Discord. If you're not a member of the Discord, you can message JENNDUBB1, JenDub1 on Discord, and she will make sure that you get an invitation into the Discord. That itself is free. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for helping us hit our gift goal. And if you'd like to join us for future members events, or if you just want to support our cause, there are paid memberships on YouTube, on Twitch. And on Twitch, if you have an Amazon Prime account, you can just log in with that Prime account and you can use your one free subscription to subscribe to us. And it'll cost you not a goddamn thing. And Jeff Bezos will pay us to keep doing what we're doing, which is advocate against the type of capitalism we have in this country, the crony capitalism that has made Jeff Bezos a billionaire. And boy, wouldn't that just be a real kick in the dick to Jeff Bezos? And then, of course, on TikTok, we have it as well. Other than that, guys, you can support us on Cameo. You can support us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, and Blue Sky. We also have merch in our bio. You can check that out. But mostly, just thanks for being here each and every day. Thanks for viewing. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for engaging in our content. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Make sure that today, if you have a chance, go outside and touch some grass. If you can't touch grass, smoke grass. If you can't touch grass or smoke grass, best of luck to you. I don't know what you're going to do, but one thing you could do is you could reach down, find your bootstraps, and pull yourself up by those bootstraps, and then prepare yourself to put those boots on the street to do something good. Before you do that, look in the mirror, say something nice about yourself, and drink some water. Take some water with you. It's hot as shit out there, and we want to make sure that you stay hydrated. But most importantly, love yourself, love those around you, be kind to those you come in contact with. Take care of yourselves, stay cute and cool, and have a great summer.